Chapter 1930. At this moment, Yi Qinghan realized that his physical body had reached the great circle of perfection. As long as the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was not extinguished, he could rapidly recover his divine power and form an eternal cycle with heaven and earth. Ah! Yi Qinghan let out a low roar. He felt refreshed, even more so than when he broke through two major realms. Boundless power roared out from his body as a treasure light flowed and radiated in all directions. Moments later, Yi Qinghan felt that the divine power in his body had been restored to its peak. His cultivation had improved by quite a bit. He was so happy that he did not even care about his image. He sat at the entrance of the temple and put on the combat boot. He had made them himself. They fit perfectly and were as light as a feather on his feet. Sect Master Yi, why don't you show me the power of the combat boots? Mo Yi stared at the combat boots curiously. It was not that there were no combat boots with auxiliary properties, but not many people would use such extravagant materials to make such high-grade combat boot. Yi Qinghan stood up and jumped excitedly. He had wanted to jump, but without using any strength, he leaped dozens of feet. He was like the wind, and even the heaven and earth confinement order could not restrain his body. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan exerted a little strength and his speed reached its peak. His figure left an afterimage in the void. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan used 50% of his strength and appeared at the foot of the mountain in an instant. He was more than 100 times faster than before. Mo Yi was dumbfounded. He did not expect the combat boots to increase Yi Qinghan's speed by 100 times. These combat boots could increase the speed of an upper-level cultivator by 10 times, let alone a lower-level cultivator like Yi Qinghan. In fact, Yi Qinghan was still unable to unleash the full potential of the combat boot. Once he did, his speed would definitely be at the legendary level. Coupled with a profound footwork like the Green Lotus Immortal Steps, seizing the heavens, he would definitely surpass Xia Jilong and senior sister Fanyin under the upper level. Cool! Yi Qinghan said excitedly as he stood at the foot of the mountain. Mo hurriedly ran down from the top of the mountain. His face was full of shock and he was very covetous. He said frankly, Sect Master Yi, these combat boots are really too awesome. If I had a pair, my combat power would definitely increase by dozens of times. Even if I can't be compared to the legendary Big Senior Sister, it would be enough to instantly kill the holy sons and holy daughters of the same level. Yi Qinghan was also overjoyed. Now that he wore these combat boots, he looked even more divine and had the aura of a war god. Wearing these cloud-treading boots made him look completely different. Ha ha ha, senior brother Mo, I'll make a pair of boots for you before I leave the Transcending Heaven Church. But you'll have to provide me with the materials, Yi Qinghan laughed heartily and said. The corner of Mo's mouth twitched. He couldn't bear to use this kind of material to make battle boot. Moreover, he didn't have any liquid supreme divine gold, so he probably couldn't buy it even if he wanted to. Mo smiled embarrassedly. He scratched his head and said, I can get the other materials, but I don't have the liquid supreme divine gold that you use to refine your body. Even Marshal Uncle Lianhua hasn't seen it. I'm afraid I can't buy it either. Yi Qinghan pretended to be mysterious and said, I won't hide it from senior brother Mo. I still have 2 or 3 grams of this stuff. Don't tell anyone. If you really want to make battle boots, I can give you 1 gram. It's enough to make battle boot. Mo was pleasantly surprised. Once these battle boots were refined, they would be priceless treasures. There wouldn't be a second Yi Qinghan who could provide him with liquid supreme divine gold. Give me 3 years. I'll definitely be able to get the materials. Mo said firmly. Yi Qinghan nodded. He clenched his fists and said solemnly, Let's go find senior sister Fanyin. I want to take revenge. I want to wash away the shame. Hearing this, Mo's legs went soft. He quickly grabbed Yi Qinghan's arm and said, Brother, I advise you not to look for trouble. When senior sister fought with you, She didn't even use 1,000th of her battle strength. She's a true legendary existence. Even if your current speed is on par with her, she can kill you 1,000 times over with her profound skills. The Tai Chi Immortal Cannon was the supreme secret technique of the sky-piercing school. It had a total of 36 levels. It was on the same level as the star arts of the Holy Empire. Fan Yin had probably cultivated to the 27th level, while Mo and the other two disciples had only cultivated to the 8th level. The 8th level was already on par with the holy sons of the other Holy Land. One could imagine how terrifying Fan Yin's strength was. Yi Qinghan didn't believe it. His strength had increased by at least several times, and his speed had increased by more than 100 times. No matter how bad it was, he could still fight to a draw with Fan Yin. He wouldn't be beaten so miserably. He said confidently, "Don't worry. My physical body has been strengthened to the limit. My physical body has also reached the great perfection of the same level. I can form a great perfection with the heavens and earth. With my physical body and speed superimposed, my battle strength should be a legendary existence among the same level. I won't lose." After speaking, Yi Qinghan forcefully pulled Mo towards the interception courtyard. It was very lively inside the interception courtyard. Thousands of young boys and girls had gathered in the inner courtyard's martial cultivation grounds. Senior Sister Fan Yin seemed to have taken some medicine. She actually took on the responsibility of a teacher. She was preaching and answering the doubts of these young children. Come, come, come. I'm in a good mood today. I'm also bored. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Fan Yin's clothes were very revealing. She was sloppy like a female hooligan. She didn't have the majesty of a legendary expert. She didn't look like a true disciple at all. This group of young children did not understand the horror of the Sanskrit sound, so they all gathered around and chattered non-stop. Yi Qinghan came to the courtyard and almost went berserk. It turned out that the divine bird was actually massaging Fan Yin's shoulders and back with a wretched face. He didn't feel ashamed at all. Instead, he felt honored. Fan Yin, on the other hand, was enjoying it. She said again and again, "Left side, use more strength. Not bad, not bad. When I see your trash boss next time, I'll snatch you from him." The divine bird smiled flatteringly and said, "That's great. It's my honor to serve such a heavenly beauty like you." Huff, huff, huff. Yi Qinghan breathed out a few times. He couldn't stand Fan Yin trying to poach him. The most despicable thing was that she had done it so easily. "Fan Yin, I want to challenge you," Yi Qinghan said angrily. Mo had already fled. He didn't dare to stand beside Yi Qinghan. The entire courtyard fell silent. Even the sound of breathing could be heard. Fan Yin was lying lazily on a chair. The slit of her skirt almost reached her thighs. Her slender legs were as white as snow. They were so tender that water could be squeezed out. When she heard Yi Qinghan's challenge, she raised her head and was pleasantly surprised. "Little guy, you came at the right time. I was just about to ask you for the contract rights of this little divine bird. I also wanted to teach you a lesson. The past few days have been too boring." Fan Yin sat up slightly. The cleavage in front of her chest could almost bury a person's head. Yi Qinghan was flustered and exasperated. He had never been humiliated like this before. This woman was simply too arrogant. The key was that she didn't look like an expert at all. Chapter 1931. Yi Qinghan was flustered and exasperated. He pointed at Fan Yin and said, "You woman, if I don't teach you a lesson today, you won't know the immensity of heaven and earth and what a real man is." Fan Yin was stunned by Yi Qinghan's overbearing tone. In her entire life, only Yi Qinghan had spoken to her like this. No one else had the guts to say such words. "You didn't take your medicine today?" Fan Yin asked in surprise. Yi Qinghan said angrily, "I think you're the one who can't stop taking medicine. A woman who doesn't act like a woman. Do you know what the 3 obedience and 4 virtues are? You're sloppy all day and dress like cotton. It's cooler to be naked. Why don't you take off your clothes? At this time, the entire courtyard was so quiet that even the wind stopped. Everyone stared at Yi Qinghan as if he really didn't take his medicine and had gone crazy. Mo, who was hiding in the distance, broke out in cold sweat and kept wiping it. Fan Yin raised her eyebrows and looked at Yi Qinghan. She clenched her fists and her joints cracked. It seemed like she had made up her mind to beat Yi Qinghan up. Kid, today I'll let you know why the flowers are so red. I'll let you know that even men have to follow the 3 obedience and 4 virtues. Fan Yin sneered and stood up slowly. It was as if the world was attached to her as she stood up. She stood there and represented the world. The great Tao was simple. Yin and Yang were boundless. Tai Chi manifested the 8 trigrams. Boom, boom, boom. The world changed colors and rumbled continuously. A bolt of lightning flashed across, stealing one's soul. Interesting. I think it's not that you didn't take your medicine today, but that you've eaten a leopard's gut. Fan Yin's sharp eyes shot out a ray of divine light. She became serious like never before. She suppressed her cultivation to the peak of the lower level. It seemed like she didn't want to take advantage of Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan loosened his muscles and bones. His body cracked and his fighting spirit soared. He was confident that his strength had reached the legendary level. If you can withstand 100 moves from me and still stand up, this senior sister will spare you. If you can't, I won't deal with you. I only want this little divine bird. Fan Yin said indifferently. What if I can throw you twice? Yi Qinghan asked seriously. When Fan Yin heard this, she immediately replied disdainfully, If you can throw me twice, I'll help you sleep tonight. Yi Qinghan purposely licked his lips and said in a hoarse voice, I'm really looking forward to it. Fan Yin was furious. Her figure flashed and disappeared in the air. In the blink of an eye, she appeared on Yi Qinghan's left side. Her jade-like hand was already on his shoulder. With a ruthless flick, she was about to smash Yi Qinghan into the ground. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's speed was even faster, almost to the limit. Taking advantage of the momentum, he rushed to the left, grabbed Fan Yin's jade-like hand, and threw it to the left. Boom! Fan Yin did not expect Yi Qinghan's speed to be so fast. She only used 30% of her speed, but 70% of her strength. At this time, she did not have time to change her moves. Yi Qinghan threw her hard onto the ground. She slid a few dozen meters on the ground, her big breasts were squeezed out of shape. Ouch! Fan Yin screamed. Everything happened too suddenly. She was not mentally prepared. Everyone was stunned. The divine bird was overjoyed and screamed, Boss, don't misunderstand this divine bird. I'm loyal and devoted. For Boss, I'm willing to do anything. I'm a loyal person. Just now, she was just being oppressed by her abuse. I had no choice but to pretend to surrender. Yi Qinghan sneered and did not reply. He was about to rush over and teach Fan Yin a lesson, but Fan Yin slapped the ground with her jade-like hand and stood up. From falling to standing up, it only took a blink of an eye. Many people did not see what happened. Cough cough, Fan Yin patted the dust off her chest and pretended to be calm. However, she was shocked. She stared at Yi Qinghan and thought, how did this bastard's speed become so fast? This old lady was careless and actually suffered a great loss. Fortunately, not many people saw it. Otherwise, my prestige would be swept to the ground. Yi Qinghan pointed at Fan Yin provocatively and said, So, big senior sister is only SOSO. Come on, I'll throw you again. Today, you'll have to serve me in bed. Yi Qinghan deliberately angered Fan Yin. As long as Fan Yin lost her mind, he could throw her again today. Fan Yin's expression turned serious. She said coldly, There's no good in angering me. Whoosh! The surrounding space and time changed. Fan Yin's level was still suppressed at the peak of the lower level, but her aura had increased by hundreds of times. Her body was clearly in front of her, but the space was slowly distorting. It was as if she had left her original spot. Yi Qinghan was shocked. At this time, he realized that Fan Yin's speed was too fast. It was at the limit. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Yi Qinghan also increased his speed. He wanted to find Fan Yin's real location. Everyone could only see Yi Qinghan's afterimage. They could not find Fan Yin's location. Boom! Bang! Just as lightning flashed and thunder roared, a figure appeared behind Yi Qinghan and kicked Yi Qinghan's back, sending him to the ground. Bang bang bang! Fan Yin appeared and punched and kicked Yi Qinghan's body like raindrop. Yi Qinghan's powerful golden body did not seem to have any resistance. Fan Yin's attacks went straight for the source of his soul. The tearing pain disrupted his consciousness. Boom! Yi Qinghan rolled to the ground. He did not even look back. He pulled back his arm and threw it behind him, hoping to buy some time to stabilize his body. However, just as his arm was thrown behind him, it was caught by Fan Yin. She used the force to throw him back. Crack! With a crisp sound, the bones in his arm were broken by this perverted woman. At this moment, the most panicked person was the divine bird. It had just shown its loyalty, but Yi Qinghan had been defeated. "Damn, you're all pretty but useless," the divine bird said angrily. Yi Qinghan was burning with anger. He drove the true dragon fire essence in all directions and attacked indiscriminately. A wave of qi rushed to the periphery, almost hitting the young disciples who had just joined the sect. Whoosh! Fan Yin flew backward. Her hands drew a Tai Chi Yin and Yang symbol in the air. She drew the heat waves from all directions. Yi Qinghan's explosive power was absorbed into her palms. Her palms formed a ball of qi. Lightning and fire filled it. It was like a volcano that was about to erupt. Once it was released, it could destroy the world. Yi Qinghan steadied himself. Seeing that Fan Yin had actually reached this step, he felt a sense of defeat in his heart. This woman was truly too terrifying. Against someone of the same level, not only could she defeat him, but she could also protect the surrounding newbies. Open! Yi Qinghan's body was like a knife. He slashed at Fan Yin with majestic power. After Fan Yin absorbed all the violent fire elements around her into her palms, she channeled some of the power in her body and blasted it at Yi Qinghan. Boom! The ball of qi collided with Yi Qinghan's leg. The two terrifying forces collided. Qi soared into the sky. The inner courtyard of the Interception Institute shook, as if there was an earthquake. "Run!" Emo shouted from afar. Whoosh! All the young disciples fled the inner courtyard. They did not even dare to watch. Boom! Fan Yin pulled her palms back. Then, she pushed forward with all her might. She pushed Yi Qinghan back with lightning speed. Yi Qinghan's strongest attack was defeated. Chapter 1932. Boom! Yi Qinghan felt as if he had kicked a supreme sacred artifact. Fortunately, the cloud-treading boots had blocked most of the force. His body flew back in a panic, and after falling to the ground, he still had to retreat dozens of steps before the impact dissipated. Crack! Yi Qinghan shook his neck and his body stiffened. 80% of his strength had dissipated. Although his body had reached the perfect realm and could recover very quickly, he could not withstand such a high-intensity attack. Fan Yin carefully stared at Yi Qinghan, scanning his body, and finally stared at the boots. She seemed to understand why Yi Qinghan's speed had suddenly soared so much. "You bastard, you actually used an auxiliary superior sacred artifact to bully me. Today, if I don't beat you until you beg for mercy, I'll take your surname." Fan Yin felt that she had been tricked and immediately became furious. Yi Qinghan shrugged. He wanted to make Fan Yin suffer again. Moreover, there were only 30 moves left in the 100 moves. Regardless of whether he could withstand 100 moves or defeat her again, Fan Yin would have nothing to say. Suddenly, Fan Yin took out a yin-yang bagua mirror and stared at Yi Qinghan with an evil smile. After Yi Qinghan saw the level of the mirror, He took several steps back and said in a panic, "Senior Sister Fanine, can we not act shamelessly? What level is this thing? I'm only wearing support-type combat boot. They increase my speed, not a weapon. It's just a small mirror, a pseudo-eternal sacred artifact. It's definitely not a weapon for you." Fanine stepped forward, facing Yi Qinghan, and said with an evil smile. Yi Qinghan broke out in a cold sweat. He was no match for her. Now that she took out such a powerful sacred artifact, how could he fight? "I admit defeat," Yi Qinghan said straightforwardly. "Admit defeat?" Fanine sneered and said, "In my place, there is no such thing as admitting defeat. There is only crippling or kneeling and begging for mercy. Do you choose to be crippled or beg for mercy?" Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He did not expect this woman to be so unforgiving. "What do you want? If I go all out, I might be able to beat you to the ground again. If you lose, you'd better be careful that you don't sleep with me," Yi Qinghan threatened. "Ha ha ha ha!" Fanine laughed and said, "I admire people like you who have no strength but are still arrogant. If you want me to serve you in bed, that will depend on your ability." Whoosh! As soon as Fanine finished speaking, the 8 trigrams mirror released a divine light that bathed in all directions. It actually enveloped the entire cultivation field of the Jieyard. Yi Qinghan felt as if he had fallen into a viscous swamp. His entire body was unable to exert any strength. As a result, it was extremely difficult for him to even move, much less fight. "Let me show you the power of the Taiji Immortal Codex," Fanine shouted in a low voice. After he finished speaking, he crossed his palms and the 8 trigrams mirror appeared in the air to bind the entire training field. Yi Qinghan's power was instantly confined. Boom! Fanine's slender jade-like arms drew a yin-yang diagram in the sky. The power of heaven and earth was drawn over. The majestic power could topple mountains and overturn seas, destroying space and time. Yi Qinghan stood in place, his eyes almost popping out. If this palm hit him, even if his physical body was invincible, he would not be able to withstand her attack. "Senior sister, good senior sister, let's stop fooling around. I'll beg for mercy." Yi Qinghan was extremely shocked. As the saying goes, a wise man does not fight when the odds are against him. Lowering one's head was better than being heavily injured. At this time, Mo did not care about the danger. He quickly rushed over and said, "Senior sister, Sect Master Yi is a guest. You can't kill him." But the power had already been gathered. Fanine could no longer withdraw it. "Kid, resist with all your strength. Whether or not you can stand up will depend on your luck." Fanine waved her hand and withdrew the 8 trigrams mirror, giving Yi Qinghan a chance to gather power. Yi Qinghan's hair stood on end. He desperately absorbed spiritual power. His veins popped out. Although he could not reach the heavens, he could at least control half of the aura. Yi Qinghan activated the 5 elements dragon. The 5 elements heavenly dragon wrapped around his body. The flaming true dragon roared out, and the surrounding temperature rose rapidly. Whoosh! With the help of the cloud boots, his peak speed and strength were fully unleashed. He could not care less about his foundation because Fanine was about to burst out. Boom boom boom! The earth and sky could be felt shaking in a radius of 3,000 miles around the sky-reaching school. The godsons of the other 2 schools rushed to the sky and went straight to the interception school. They saw that Fanine had used the ultimate power of the peak of the lower realm, and the power of the Tai Chi Immortal Codex. Yi Qinghan alone could not block it. They did not want to intervene, but Yi Qinghan represented an immortal elixir. If Yi Qinghan died, the eccentric sect would have nothing to lose. The loss would be immeasurable. "Mo, let's work together." The 3 godsons rushed to the sky. The Tai Chi 8 trigrams array appeared in the sky, almost covering the sky and the sun. In an instant, monstrous power surged out. Boom! Fanine pushed his palms forward, and his divine power roared. It was like the sea had broken through the dam, and a flood rushed toward the four of them. The four masters were the top masters of the saint level, but their faces suddenly changed. In the face of Fanine, they were like duckweeds in the sea, and could be annihilated at any time. Whoosh! After Fanine made his strongest attack, he quickly landed on the ground and used the shadowless celestial step. His hands were in the sky, and he continued to draw the Tai Chi seal, ready to face the aftermath. Boom! The Tai Chi 8 trigrams array formed by the three godsons was instantly shattered by the impact. The three masters were sent flying by the thunderous force, and they vomited blood. Their bodies were torn apart, and their blood splattered on the ground. Roar! At the last moment, Yi Qinghan's golden body had also turned into a dragon. Together with the 5 elements heavenly dragon and the flaming true dragon, the 7 heavenly dragons entangled and roared together, forming a terrifying force that evolved into an illusory figure. It was himself. The illusory figure was also evolving the Tai Chi Yin and Yang. Although it did not have the essence of the Tai Chi Immortal Codex, it was similar. Boom! The two attacks smashed together. In an instant, the sky-reaching church shone brightly. Immortal light soared into the sky and enveloped the entire sky-reaching church, protecting all the palaces and buildings. Crack! The stone slabs of the training field cracked. This was a formation that was used against upper-level cultivators, but it could not block the aftermath of the two's attacks. Yi Qinghan's defensive qi gradually collapsed, and his illusory figure was distorted, ready to explode at any time. Boom! Buzz! Yi Qinghan's true body appeared. His large hand rushed out with a monstrous light, blocking Fanine's attack. His left hand moved the Rui bell, and the sound of the bell rumbled as if it came from the end of the world. It was deep and full of Buddha's will. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's body was covered in holy Buddha's light. The pressure on him was reduced by more than 70%, and he felt much more relaxed. Now's the time. Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. Without the terrifying pressure, he crushed the stone slabs under his feet. It was as if his golden body had turned into a heavy sword, and he became one with the sword. He tore through Fanine's attack and went straight for Fanine's true body. Fanine was shocked. She did not expect Yi Qinghan to break through her attack. While she hesitated, the sword light had already torn through the shackles and appeared in front of her. Boom! Fusion formula! Fanine became serious. She put her palms together and pressed down on the back of Yi Qinghan's heavy berserk blade. She was pushed back by the force. Her long hair was like steel needles, and her divine robe was torn apart, flapping in the wind, revealing her snow-white skin. Return formula! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Fanine took a few steps back, holding the heavy berserk blade with both hands. Stick formula! Tremor formula! Fanine's voice was low, and the path of his divine power was clearly visible. He pulled at Yi Qinghan, and in the end, he flung Yi Qinghan away. However, it did not contain much attack power. Boom! Yi Qinghan flew 360 degrees and landed on the ground. His body should have been out of control, but he twisted his body, and his hands drew a Tai Chi 8 trigrams array, which dissipated 80% of the impact. Return formula! Yi Qinghan roared. He drew a semicircle with his left leg, and with his hands spread out, he stood firmly on his feet. Fanine's eyes were wide open. She stared at Yi Qinghan in disbelief, as if she had seen a ghost. Chapter 1933. Fanine's fingertips trembled slightly. It was not because Yi Qinghan had hurt her, but because Yi Qinghan had secretly learned the Tai Chi Immortal Codex during the battle. Moreover, he had learned 50% of the Tai Chi Immortal Codex without relying on the mental cultivation method. Just how terrifying was his martial cultivation talent? F***ck. Fan Yin blurted out. Huff, huff, dong, dong. Yi Qinghan breathed out a few mouthfuls of turbid air. His heart had already reached its limit. If he did such a high-load exercise again, his heart would explode. How much foundation do you have? Use all of it. I won't hold back today. Fan Yin rolled up her sleeves and said unwillingly. Yi Qinghan's expression changed. His legs went soft and he actually knelt on the ground. Then, he sat cross-legged on the ground and said shamelessly, I've already used all of my foundation. If senior sister bullies me again, it will damage the reputation of the Sky-Reaching sect. But you bastard actually dared to secretly learn the Tai Chi Immortal Codex of the Sky-Reaching sect. Tell me, who told you the mental cultivation method? Fan Yin asked angrily with her hands on her hip. Yi Qinghan smiled embarrassedly and pointed at Fan Yin. Senior sister, no one told me the mental cultivation method. You used the moves in the Immortal Codex, and I copied them. At this moment, the three godsons climbed up from the pool of blood with lingering fear on their faces. In this world, only they knew how many times more powerful a true legendary level expert would be. When one reached Fan Yin's level, even a slight improvement would increase one's battle strength by several times. Fan Yin had no way to vent her anger. When she saw the three godsons, she immediately found someone to vent her anger on. She pointed at Imo and the other two and said angrily, You three trash, look. This little trash is stronger than you. I let you cultivate the Tai Chi Immortal Codex, but you only reached the 8th level after so many years. He could comprehend some of it after watching me do it once. Compared to him, you're just mud that can't support a wall. The three godsons' expressions changed slightly, but they didn't get angry. It seemed that they had been abused all year round, so they didn't care about their dignity in front of Fan Yin. Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the ruins. Although he was exhausted, he was very happy at this moment. Although he did not have the mental cultivation method of the Taiji Immortal Code, he had learned a few moves based on his experience. The power might not be as strong as Fan Yin's, but if he fought with her a few more times, he would definitely be able to learn 70 to 80%. When Fan Yin saw that the three godsons did not fight back or curse back, he could only store his anger in his heart. He looked at Yi Qinghan, his figure flashed, and he kicked Yi Qinghan fiercely, saying, I'll spare you for now. I'll deal with you tonight. Yi Qinghan wasn't angry. Instead, he smiled and said, Welcome to my bed. I can't beat you on the battlefield, but I can torture you 1,000 times in bed without a problem. Boom, boom, boom. Fan Yin's temper flared up, and he started punching and kicking Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan grimaced in pain. Although his mouth felt good, his body was in extreme pain. I'll let you torture me. I'll let you torture me. When you surpass me in the same realm, we'll talk about serving me in bed. After beating Yi Qinghan up, Fan Yin's anger subsided quite a bit. She stepped on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and said domineeringly. Yi Qinghan lay on the ground and looked up. His eyes widened as he stared at those slender white legs. He could actually see the underwear underneath clearly. He almost saw that piece of news. Senior sister, you've been exposed. Yi Qinghan raised his large finger and pointed at the center of her legs with a sinister smile. Only then did Fan Yin realize that this position was a little indecent. She quickly retracted her long legs and glared fiercely at Yi Qinghan. She quickly ran out of the Jie courtyard, followed by the other two courtyard's godsons. At this moment, when Su appeared out of nowhere and stared at Yi Qinghan, the emotions in his eyes were very different. Immeasurable Heavenly Sovereign, Sect Master Yi, please follow me to the main hall. When Su said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan looked at his eyes and knew that when Su already knew that he had secretly learned the Taiji Immortal Scripture. It seemed that when Su had been watching Fan Yin torture him before, he couldn't help but feel a little unhappy. Yi Qinghan followed when Su into the main hall. The main hall was magnificent but somewhat low-key. One could see that each arrangement contained the pinnacle of the Grand Tao. When Su stepped on the throne in the main hall, there was a huge statue behind the throne. It was a majestic old man holding the sun and moon in his hand and stepping on the universe. He was like a supreme spiritual god. When Su stepped on the stone steps and respectfully kowtowed 3 times, he then stood up and faced Yi Qinghan and said, "This is the statue of my Transcending Heaven School's Supreme School Master. Why aren't you bowing?" Yi Qinghan slowly knelt down in the main hall and respectfully kowtowed 3 times. He then looked at Wen Su with a curious expression. He didn't know what Wen Su wanted to do. Wen Su looked down at Yi Qinghan and said in a deep voice, "You secretly learned my Transcending Heaven School's immortal scripture. Do you know what punishment you deserve?" Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and said, "Senior, I didn't secretly learn it. I was forced to learn it. Moreover, I learned it from Senior Sister Fan Yin in public. How can you say that I secretly learned it?" Wen Su looked at Yi Qinghan with displeasure and said indifferently, "Are you quibbling? Do you dare to tell me that you didn't deliberately learn the immortal scripture by challenging Fan Yin?" Yi Qinghan was speechless. He really did challenge Fan Yin to comprehend the mystery of Tai Chi. This kind of thing couldn't be hidden from this old fox. The Tai Chi immortal scripture is a secret technique of my school. Apart from the 3 great disciples and Fan Yin, no one is qualified to learn it. Since you have learned it, this old man can only give you 2 choices. First, join my Transcending Heaven School and become my disciple. Second, let me destroy your memory of the Tai Chi immortal scripture." Wen Su said frankly. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows. He obviously couldn't accept the 2 choices given by Wen Su. Of course, joining the Transcending Heaven School won't prevent you from establishing a sect outside. However, you have to recognize this master sect in your heart. If the master sect is in trouble, you have to lead the eccentric sect to do your best. Wen Su explained. Yi Qinghan's eyes suddenly lit up. This situation was acceptable. However, he couldn't just let the eccentric sect only have responsibilities and obligations. There must be benefits. If the eccentric sect is in trouble, will the Transcending Heaven School protect the eccentric sect? Yi Qinghan asked. Of course, we will help. Sometimes, although we can't fall out with those holy lands, we can still send people to help secretly. Wen Su nodded and said. Yi Qinghan rubbed his hands and said with a smile, "That's the best. It's my honor to be able to join the Transcending Heaven School. But I don't know which senior I will be apprenticed to. Will I belong to the level of a godson or a true disciple?" Wen Su silently glanced at Yi Qinghan, shook his head and said, "Definitely not a godson. A godson is not allowed to go out and establish a sect. As for your situation, I have to discuss it with the other 2 senior brothers before I can decide." Yi Qinghan smiled and said, "A simple name is also okay. I don't care about the name." Chapter 1934. Wen Su glanced at Yi Qinghan. He knew that Yi Qinghan did not have a strong sense of belonging to the sky-reaching school. However, he was not willing to give up on someone with such talent. You may not care, but the sky-reaching school cares. Wen Su left the Jie yard after saying that. Yi Qinghan walked out of the palace hall and stood on the training field, recalling Fan Yin's Tai Chi celestial scriptures mystique. He kept on probing and cultivating, hoping that he would be able to deduce the true top-notch mystique. Fighting with a legendary existence like Fan Yin was better than 1,000 years of secluded cultivation. Wen Su found the 9 extremes Taoist and Wanhong holy man. He told them about Yi Qinghan's situation. The 2 ultimate experts were also shocked. They knew how difficult it was to cultivate the Taiji Immortal Codex. The 3 of them had cultivated for countless years and were still stuck at the 31st level. They could not advance even a single step. There's only one possibility for someone to be able to comprehend some of the mysteries of the Taiji Immortal Code through his battle with Fanine. He's someone who's naturally suited to cultivate this immortal code. I'm afraid we'll have to seek the help of our teacher from the paradise, Wanhong Holy Man said seriously. The 9 Extremes Taoist nodded and agreed with Wanhong Holy Man when Su thought for a moment, then bowed and said, Senior brothers, then junior brother will go to the Blessed Land's paradise to ask Master for his opinion. Go. The 2 elders nodded at the same time. When Su disappeared from the main hall, only the 9 Extremes Taoist and Wanhong Holy Man were left. The 2 of them had serious expressions. They were too worried about Yi Qinghan because there were some mysterious people standing behind Yi Qinghan. There were also the 2 protectors of the heavenly demon sect. The 2 of them disappeared silently. When they reappeared, they were already standing at the peak of the sky. It was as if they were standing in a different space. They looked down at Yi Qinghan on the training field of the Jie Yard. They saw that he was deducing the 10 cross mantra in the Taiji Immortal Codex step by step. There were actually several mantras that were 70% similar to the 10 cross mantra in the Immortal Codex. It was just that there was no mantra to support it. A martial cultivation genius, said the 9 Extreme Taoist with a deep voice. Wanhong Holy Man sighed. It's a pity that he's not a member of the Sky Reaching School. Now he has other eternal sovereigns backing him. A few days ago, the Holy Maiden of the Oshi Holy Land came to tell us that she was going to marry a disciple of Yi Qinghan, and the little sister of the Martial Tao Supremacy Holy Land was also going to marry Yi Qinghan. This old man can't calculate his life trajectory, let alone figure out which big shot is backing him. Junior brother Wenshu will naturally inform Master of the situation. He will make his own decision. At worst, he will just destroy Yi Qinghan's memories of the Immortal Codex. 9 Extreme Taoists' words seemed calm, but there was too much reluctance and unwillingness in them. For people like them, if they couldn't advance to the eternal realm in this lifetime, it would be great if they could cultivate a powerful eternal realm expert. When they met a genius, they really didn't want to give up. The 2 stared at Yi Qinghan, and the emotions in their eyes changed. Yi Qinghan was still cultivating and comprehending. He recalled his shortcomings in the battle with Fan Yin, why he lost, and then constantly improve. At this moment, his speed was even faster than before. The mysterious secret technique was like moving clouds and flowing water, and he changed his moves in an instant. The blessed land of the Sky Reaching School was a small world independent of the big world. It was a small world created by the Sky Reaching School's leader. The rules and order inside were even stricter than the eternal world. Experts were as common as clouds, immortal chi pervaded the air, and clouds lingered around the top of the sky. Immortals and mortals coexisted, but there were not many wars. There weren't many people in the blessed land, but martial cultivation was the norm. There were martial arts experts everywhere. The contents of the Taiji Immortal Codex seemed to be open to the people in the blessed land. Most people had cultivated to the 8th level and above, and some children had cultivated to the 10th level. They were even stronger than Mo and the other 2 godsons. There were many secret techniques in the Taiji Immortal Codex, and the 10-word formula was just one of them. If one could cultivate a secret technique to the peak state, one could reach the legendary level after leaving the blessed land, and fight against the 10 overlords. This was the foundation of the Sky Reaching School. The 3 godsons didn't know about the situation inside the blessed land, and only knew that there was a blessed land. In an elegant valley, a lake, a pavilion, a chimney, a boat, flowing water, mountain rocks, and ancient trees intertwined to form a beautiful fairyland. Whoosh! On one side of the lake, a willow tree hung down and the sun shone. A wooden bridge stretched more than 10 meters deep into the lake, and there was a small pavilion at the end of the bridge. A white-haired old man was sitting in the pavilion. His clothes were ragged, and he leaned lazily on a chair. The sun shone on his face, making him sleepy. The old man's face exuded a sense of vicissitudes and history, but there was no sense of decay. His white hair and youthful face made people revere him. The old man held a fishing rod in his hand and let the fish bite the bait. He didn't pull up the fishing rod, as if he was really asleep. At this moment, a slender and beautiful leg appeared in his sight. It was Fanine. She took off her boots and tiptoed toward the old man barefoot. She had an evil smile on her face, as if she wanted to scare the old man. The old man didn't seem to feel anything and let Fanine approach. 5 meters, 3 meters, 2 meters, Fanine appeared behind the old man and was about to shout into his ear. But just as she was about to circulate her energy, the old man suddenly turned his head and roared. His voice was like a bell, and it exploded in Fanine's mind. "Damn girl, you want to scare me again." Boom. Fanine trembled, and goosebumps appeared all over her body. Her brain was like paste, and her body fell straight into the water. "You old bastard! You scared me to death!" Fanine screamed, and with a few splashes, she climbed out of the water and onto the bamboo bridge. She spat out a mouthful of river water and looked at the old man angrily. Her whole body was wet and she looked very seductive. But the old man didn't even turn his head and continued to lean on the chair and bask in the sun. Fanine saw that the old man ignored her and quickly changed her clothes. She pulled a chair out of nowhere and sat beside the old man. She said angrily, "You only know how to waste your time. Can't you be more promising?" The old man squinted at Fanine and said lazily, "Little girl, do you know what it means to respect your teacher? It's a bad habit to disturb the rest of the old man." Fanine suddenly exploded. She stood on the chair and pointed at the old man, roaring, "You don't respect your elders, and you want me to respect my teacher. When have I not been humiliated by you? You want me to respect you?" The old man shook his head and dug his ears with his fingers. He said, "You're not big, but your voice is quite loud. Cut the crap. I'm here today because I have something to talk to you about. A few days ago, I met a weirdo in the outside world. He actually managed to learn about 50 to 60% of my 10-word formula after exchanging a few moves with me. I heard that this bastard obtained the flying immortal elixir from the shrouding sky's secret realm. He's being held hostage in the sect. A martial arts genius with a great opportunity. It's a pity to kill him. What's his background?" The old man opened his eyes slightly and asked curiously. Chapter 1935. At the mention of Yi Qinghan's background, Fanine was also taken aback. Only then did he remember that he knew nothing about Yi Qinghan. At this moment, when Su soared into the air and descended from a distance, it seemed that he was extremely respectful to the old man here. A moment later, when Su appeared at the head of the bamboo bridge, he respectfully knelt on the bridge and said, "Disciple when Su greets master." Sure enough, this old man was the supreme hierarch of the Sky-Reaching School, an existence that could conquer the world by himself. "Well, third brother, you didn't come today because of that little guy, did you?" the old man asked faintly. "Master, it's because of him," when Su immediately replied. "Third senior brother, what is the origin of this Yi Qinghan? What's his background?" Fanine asked curiously. When Su thought for a moment, organized his words, and said, "Yi Qinghan, who has cultivated for less than 50,000 years, comes from the land of sinners. He should be the bloodline descendant of the supreme hierarch of hell, but his bloodline is very rare. His bloodline doesn't seem to be noble, and there's nothing special about it. He formed a small sect, and according to the investigation, there are about 30 people, all of whom are top geniuses. More than half of them are on par with the chief disciples of the powerful sects in the Holy Lands. Of course, they can't compete with the true disciples. However, the people behind this person are more complicated. I haven't found out why for the time being. I only know that behind him are 2 protectors of the heavenly demon cult and an eternal sovereign. Moreover, Yi Qinghan has a disciple called Lin Wutian. A few days ago, the saintess of the Oshi Holy Land came to tell me that she would marry Lin Wutian on the day when the immortal pill was refined. This disciple was personally raised by Yi Qinghan and is very loyal. His sword Dao is as pure as the true disciples of the sword Dao Holy Land. He's an existence that can't be underestimated. As for Yi Qinghan, the two princesses of the martial supremacy Holy Land want to marry Yi Qinghan at the same time. Although the martial supremacy Holy Land hasn't said anything, he didn't stop it. The old man heard Wen Su's words and asked, "What's the character of this little guy?" Wen Su immediately said, "This guy isn't afraid of things getting out of hand. The moment he entered the outside world, he offended Hell, blessed Buddha Temple, and the Bounty Hunter headquarters. The key is that the three Holy Lands sent out many experts, but they still couldn't capture him. Ever since he obtained the immortal herb, he offended the Holy Empire's crown prince, Xia Jilong. This person takes revenge for the smallest grievance against his enemies, and it's even to the extent that he takes revenge without reason. However, he's extremely generous towards his friends, and he's even willing to do his best to help his group of brothers. So, he has over 30 top geniuses by his side, and all of them are existences that can be entrusted with their lives." His warm words explained most of Yi Qinghan's personality. The old man nodded. He finally understood Yi Qinghan's character. "Interesting. Keep it then. As for the other holy grounds, you don't have to care about them. Let them develop as they please," the old man said calmly. Wen Su was overjoyed and hurriedly asked, "Master, then what status should we give Yi Qinghan? Your registered disciple? Or?" The old man rubbed his forehead, then stretched lazily and said, "Let nature take its course for now. There will always be a period of observation. For now, you will teach him first. Choose 3 to 5 secret techniques from the immortal code for him to cultivate and see if his talent is really that good. If it's not bad, send him to a paradise to gain experience. Whether or not he can meet me will depend on his fate." Wen Su was excited. He hurriedly kowtowed and said, "Thank you, Master, for your guidance. Go back. Give him some benefits, and don't ask him for more immortal herbs. This kind of person is the same as Fanine. He's also a weirdo. Follow his thoughts, and he will know how to be grateful," the old man said calmly. Fanine's eyes widened. She put her hands on her hips and said, "Who are you calling a weirdo? I'm a fairy as beautiful as a flower, and you're actually comparing me to him." The old man shook his head. With a wave of his hand, the sky distorted, and Fanine was swept away. F***CK. I came here for another purpose. When are you going to return the jar of yin-yang wine that you owe me? Fanine roared, but she was quickly annihilated by the space. Boom. When Fanine reappeared, she was already outside the sky reaching school. She was almost at the holy land of Xixiang. Fanine fell into a valley. She stood up and looked around. She couldn't help but curse, "This old thing. Every time he sends me out, he has to make me run a little longer. It's really infuriating." In the Jie courtyard, Wen Su trotted back to the training field. Yi Qinghan was still cultivating, as if intoxicated. "Kid, there's good news. My sex leader has already allowed you to join the Jie courtyard. However, he hasn't given you a status yet. Let this old man teach you for a period of time, and see your talent before making a decision," Wen Su said with a smile. When Yi Qinghan heard this, he was immediately overjoyed. He asked, "Can I cultivate the orthodox immortal codex?" Wen Su said truthfully, "Master asked me to teach you some secret techniques from the immortal codex. 10-word formula, shadowless cloud movement technique. You can learn these 2 secret techniques first. As long as you can learn them at the fastest speed and understand them thoroughly, I will let you enter the blessed land and grotto heaven to gain experience. As for what you can get, it will all depend on your luck." Yi Qinghan was wild with joy. He was lacking a legendary level cultivation technique. Obviously, this Tai Chi Immortal Codex was definitely a legendary cultivation technique. Thank you, Dean. I will definitely not disappoint you, Yi Qinghan said solemnly. When Su laughed and said, I hope so. Follow me first. I will teach you the 10-word formula's mental cultivation method. This is much better than you blindly fumbling around. Yi Qinghan was extremely excited. This was the first time he had come into contact with such a legendary level cultivation technique. Whether he could enter the legendary level and be on par with Fan Yin and Xia Jilong depended on this step. A few days ago, Heaven's suppressing city, Kuang Manor, Lin Wutian brought the immortal herb to the martial Dao supremacy sacred ground under the protection of Yer Saint, Emperor Yi, Wu Xing'er and Zhua Shuguang. The 5 of them traveled at night and rested during the day. They kept a low profile as they were afraid of attracting the attention of experts. Although the 5 of them were extremely powerful existences, they would definitely not be able to protect the immortal herb in the face of an expert of the upper level. The 5 of them quickly traveled through the wilderness and entered the war race's territory. This place was remote and there were not many experts. During the day, the 5 of them slowly traveled and tried to reach the martial Dao supremacy sacred ground as soon as possible. Hundreds of birds sang softly and all living things let out a crisp sound. It was a very peaceful place. Steep cliffs, steep mountain rocks, and frightening abysses. Gusts of cold wind blew. This place was close to the northernmost area, so the cold wind was normal. The 5 of them were not too vigilant. Suddenly, the wooden sword at Lin Wutian's waist vibrated, causing him to be on guard. Everyone, be careful. Lin Wutian lowered his voice and looked around vigilantly. He found that there were no beasts roaring in front of him. It was so quiet that even the wind stopped blowing. Yer Saint's eyes emitted a golden light that pierced through the void source and looked into the depths. A strange energy quickly spread out and he could feel the spiritual energy waves from 1,000 miles away. Not good, we have entered someone's encirclement. Yer Saint's expression changed and said in a deep voice. Lin Wutian was shocked and whispered, Impossible, only the 5 of us know about this. It's impossible for someone to leak the news. Who would be here to stop us? Chapter 1936. Lin Wutian was shocked. He could not figure out why someone would stop them here. Could it be that they are not here for us? Emperor Yi asked with a frown. Lin Wutian shook his head. Looking at the wooden sword in his hand, he knew that the other party must be here for them. Otherwise, the sword would not be warning them like this. Lil miss, this is the sword given to me by the senior in the backyard. It can distinguish the hostility of the other party. They are here for us, Lin Wutian said in a deep voice. Zhua Shuguang waved his hand and took out the painting of mountains and rivers. He looked around vigilantly and said in a deep voice, Could it be that there is a traitor in the crazy sect? The 5 of us have been together all this time. It is impossible for them to inform others to fight for the celestial elixir. Only the higher-ups of the crazy sect know that we are here. Impossible, Lin Wutian and Emperor Yi said in unison. They trusted the higher-ups of the crazy sect. Even if they really betrayed them, they did not know anyone from the other holy lands. Whoosh! At this moment, a cold gust of wind blew past. The 5 people's robes fluttered, and the fallen leaves on the ground were scattered like hidden weapons. The 5 of them suddenly stood back to back and looked around vigilantly. They all took out their weapons. Yarshing's golden eyes flashed with golden light, and his aura was overwhelming. Everything in his sight was a realm. Everything within the realm had to obey the order of the Eye of Power. Whoosh! The staff of power appeared in Yarshing's hand. As the holy maiden of the emperor, the Oshi Holy Land did not send any top experts to protect her. Naturally, they believed in her strength. Her cultivation, the staff of power, and the high-level bloodline must be a legendary level existence. Her real combat power was definitely not inferior to Fanine's peak. Wutian, I will tear open the encirclement later. You take the others and leave first. If I want to leave, no one can stop me. Unless the legendary true disciples of the other holy lands come with treasures. I don't think they have the courage to do so, Yarshing said confidently. Lin Wutian took a deep breath. He did not want to let Yarshing take the risk alone here. However, he was responsible for the celestial elixir. Otherwise, the crazy sect and Yi Qinghan would be in danger. I will stay too. We can take care of each other, Zhou Shuguang said in a deep voice. Whoosh! In an instant, a storm raged and a gale blew. The surrounding laws and profound mysteries were all imprisoned, making it impossible to sense even the slightest bit of the power of the world. Ha ha! None of you are leaving today. A domineering voice was deafening as it swept out for dozens of miles. A terrifying aura combined with dozens of experts pressured the 5 experts. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the blink of an eye, each mountain was occupied by 3 to 5 experts. There were also some lower-level cultivators on the short mountain peak. Yarshing and Zhou Shuguang often traveled the Great World, but they couldn't recognize the origins of this group of people because they were all dressed in black and had masks covering their faces. As of this moment, there were already 8 upper-level cultivators, more than 30 middle-level cultivators, and more than 100 lower-level cultivators. They had completely surrounded the area. An army like this was equivalent to about 50% of the strength of a weak, powerful sect. It was almost as if they had turned out in full force. I am the Holy Maiden of the Oshi Holy Land, Yar Saint. May I know who you are? Yar Saint asked in a deep voice. I am Zhou Shuguang, an itinerant cultivator. Please give me some face. Zhou Shuguang held the mountains and rivers in his hands. Divine light flowed and dispersed the airflow in all directions, causing withered leaves to fall to the ground. Emperor Yi and Wu Xing each held a divine zither and a divine sword respectively. Their divine robes were snow-white and exuded a strong pressure. They were definitely not ordinary items. At a glance, it was obvious that they were made by eternal sovereigns. These divine robes could at least block the peak attacks of ordinary upper-level cultivators. Wu Xing and Wu Qin from the martial Dao Supremacy Holy Land greet the seniors. Fellow Taoist, we have no grudges. Is there a misunderstanding? Emperor Yi and Wu Xing said in unison. However, after the 4 of them reported their names, the other party was not shocked. Instead, they laughed even more unscrupulously. I'm looking for you. Whoosh. Another top expert appeared in front of everyone almost instantaneously. He was dressed in black and stepped on a willow leaf. The willow leaf did not move at all. He was definitely an expert among experts. Yar Saint's pupils shrank as he said in a deep voice, a legendary existence. I wonder which Holy Land's true disciple you are? Why don't you reveal your true identity? However, that person looked down at Yar Saint and the others with disdain and said indifferently, Imperial Saintess, you have the staff of power. I can't kill you, but you're surrounded by so many people. Even if you have the staff of power, you won't be able to leave alive. I'll give you Wu Qin and Wu Xing a chance. This matter has nothing to do with you. As for Lin Wutian and the so-called number 1 individual cultivator, I'd like to meet them. Lin Wutian and Zhou Shuguang stood back to back as they stared at the legendary existence. They deeply understood how big the difference between their cultivation and the legendary level was. Even if this person was not as strong as Xia Jiulong, the difference should not be too great. However, the 2 of them could not withstand a single move from Xia Jiulong even if they joined forces. Naturally, they were no match for this person. Yar Saint scanned his surroundings. The 10 upper-level cultivators were all top-notch existences among their peers. Perhaps they were not at the top, but they were definitely not people the middle-level cultivators could contend with. Furthermore, he could only deal with the legendary level. Don't resist. Wait for an opportunity. Escape as soon as you find a breakthrough, Yar Saint reminded the other four through voice transmission. The four of them did not reply. Instead, they looked around, searching for a place where they could break through. However, there were upper-level experts guarding them in all directions. It was almost impossible to escape. The legendary expert standing on the willow leaf looked down at Yar Saint, Emperor Yi, and the other saintesses and said coldly, "I just don't want to kill 3 delicate beauties. Don't think that I'm afraid of the forces behind you. If I leave you here today, who will be able to find out my identity? I'll give you a chance. Don't miss it. The 3 of you leave first and wait for us outside. I should be confident that I can tear an opening. Brother Zhua, you'll be responsible for bringing me out," Lin Wutian whispered as he held his wooden sword. "Cut the crap. If you don't want to be exposed, don't use that move," Yar Saint warned. Lin Wutian's breath stagnated, but he finally compromised. Once Green Lotus Sword Song moved, as a true disciple of the legendary level, Green Lotus Sword Fairy's identity would be exposed. By then, it would not be a simple war, but an unprecedented war. The crazy sex people would not even be enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. Then, let's cut the crap. Let's fight. Lin Wutian shouted angrily. He hid the wooden sword under his left arm and held the divine sword in his right hand. The sword in his left hand was to suppress the staff of power, while the sword in his right hand was to kill the enemy. "Supreme Father God, please grant me the right to imprison all creatures in this world. Let the land bathed in holy light be under the glory of Father God. Within this domain, please grant me the supreme power. Call upon my golden blood, open my golden eyes, and seal everything within sight." Yar Saint held the staff of power and chanted. The melody of heaven and earth rumbled. The holy light dispersed and shrouded the area within 100 miles. Whoosh! In an instant, all the lower realm experts lost their divine power. They could not even pull out their swords. But at this moment, the legendary true disciple was not affected at all. Buzz. Amitabha Buddha, Heavenly Buddha is free, Dharma is boundless, the Sanskrit chants were holy and mighty, and the Buddhist light shrouded 100 miles. It actually covered the holy light emitted by Yar Saint. "It's the thousand-hand Buddha." Yar Saint was shocked. He did not expect the opponent to be the thousand-hand Buddha, a true disciple of the blessed Buddha temple. He had heard that this person had received the true teachings of the blessed Buddha. His strength was monstrous, and his battle strength was comparable to Xia Jiulong's. Chapter 1937. Emperor Ye'er's identity shocked Zhou Shuguang, Emperor Yi, and the others. Only Lin Wutian knew nothing about this person. "Since I've revealed my identity, I have no intention of letting you leave alive. Emperor Ye'er, you are courting death. Don't blame the courtyard." Emperor Ye'er shouted angrily, and the Buddha's light grew brighter. The Buddhist robe on his body emitted an even stronger Buddha's light, suppressing the staff of power. The light covered and suppressed each other, and the staff of power lost half of its power. Half. It was enough for Lin Wutian because he had the spiritual wooden sword. The sword pierced through the clouds, and the sword turned into a bolt of lightning, rushing straight into the sky. Die! Whoosh! Lin Wutian and his sword became one, piercing through the shackles and rushing toward an upper plane in the north. As long as he could break through him, he could escape with the others. There were 3 upper planes in the north, one in the north, one in the northeast, and one in the northwest. Between them stood more than 10 middle planes. Although their cultivation was suppressed, their momentum was stronger. When they saw Lin Wutian coming with a sword, they all rushed forward to stop him. Whoosh! 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 Lin Wutian's strength was at the same level as the Holy Sun. Although he had not reached the legendary level, he was still not a match for ordinary middle planes. Moreover, their strength was suppressed by about half. Sword light flashed, and blood spilled over the mountains and rivers. Some of the middle planes only had time to scream before falling off the cliff. The sword light wreaked havoc, and no one could stop it. In the blink of an eye, Lin Wutian had killed 3 middle planes and was closing in on an upper plane. The upper plane looked at Lin Wutian with disdain, holding a sharp sword in his hand. His fingers were on the hilt, and the divine sword was ready to be unsheathed. Zhuo Shuguang, Emperor Yi, and the others stood behind Yarsheng, blocking the attacks of the other powerhouses. They fought with the group of middle-level powerhouses. If it weren't for the suppression of the Staff of Power, they would have killed Zhuo Shuguang in an instant. Emperor Yi played the zither, and the sound of the zither caused the world to roar. The withered leaves danced in the air, blocking everyone's sight. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sound blade turned into a blade and flew through the air. The lower-level martial artist was killed the moment he stepped into the battlefield. The divine power in his body was sealed by a special energy, and his life force was rapidly dissipating. The Thousand-Hand Buddha and Yar Saint fought against each other, using Buddhist chants to suppress the Staff of Power and using Buddhist light to block the holy light. Neither of them could fight against the other. 3 powerhouses were protecting the Thousand-Hand Buddha. 2 powerhouses joined the battle to kill Zhuo Shuguang and the others. Another 3 were defending the 4 directions. The remaining 2 looked at Lin Wutian with disdain. A short while later, Lin Wutian had killed more than 30 middle-level and low-level cultivators from the north. Their blood dyed Lin Wutian red. His energy was rapidly approaching the high-level cultivators from the north. Roar! The upper-level powerhouse had only pulled out half of his sword when the cold light pierced his eyes, causing him to be unable to open his eyes. Suddenly, Lin Wutian's speed increased exponentially, and he disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. The strong man in the northwest was stunned. He thought that the flash of the sword had confused his vision, but when he looked at the strong man in the north, his whole body trembled, and the sword in his hand almost fell to the ground. Roar! Whoosh! Lin Wutian appeared behind the upper-level cultivator and stabbed back with the wooden sword. Backhand sword! Puff! With a muffled sound, the upper plane master in the north pulled out his sword halfway and froze on the spot. The wooden sword pierced through the back of his neck and came out of his throat. The terrifying power tore apart the life force in his body with a thunderous force. Whoosh! Lin Wutian pulled back the wooden sword and quickly hid it in his sleeve. Not even a trace of sword chi leaked out. Suddenly, the encirclement was quiet. They all looked to the north, unable to imagine how Lin Wutian had achieved such speed. Green lotus fairy steps seizing the heavens. In a flash, it could reverse the order of the heavens. It was so fast that no one could react. At this moment, Lin Wutian did not continue to fight. Instead, he held the divine sword and looked around. His eyes were like torches, giving people an irresistible pressure. It was not that he did not want to move, but after taking this step, all the power in Lin Wutian's body had been exhausted. The wooden sword was psychic. That depended on the user's own cultivation. Green Lotus Sword Celestial could use 300 to 500 moves without any effect, but Lin Wutian was only in the middle level. I don't care if you are the 1,000-hand Buddha or the 10,000-hand Buddha. Take your people and get out of here quickly. Otherwise, the next sword will stab your throat. Lin Wutian said coldly. The 1,000-hand Buddha stopped chanting and slowly stood up. His whole body exuded an irresistible Buddhist aura. He stared at Lin Wutian and recalled the footwork that Lin Wutian had used. It was so shocking. If that sword was really aimed at me, could I have dodged it? The 1,000-hand Buddha took a deep breath and muttered to himself, I could have dodged it, but once I was restrained by the Yar Saint, I would have died without a doubt. The 1,000-hand Buddha gave an affirmative answer, but this answer sent a chill down his spine. There are no fluctuations of divine power in his body. The upper-level cultivator standing in the northwest was the closest to Lin Wutian. He frowned and reminded him in a deep voice. The thousand-hand Buddha suddenly understood. He sneered and said, "So you used a forbidden technique. You used all your strength to kill an upper-level cultivator. Now that you are so strong, are you trying to trick me?" Lin Wutian said indifferently, "If you don't believe me, you can come up and try. See if my sword really doesn't contain any divine power." The thousand-hand Buddha silently glanced at the Yar Saint. He was most wary of Yar Saint. If he attacked, Yar Saint would definitely attack. If he made a mistake and Lin Wutian still had divine power, he would die without a doubt. The thousand-hand Buddha didn't dare to take the risk. He looked at the upper-level cultivator in the northwest and signaled for him to attack. The upper-level cultivator didn't dare to be 100% sure that Lin Wutian didn't have the power to resist. He could only signal to a middle-level cultivator beside him and say, "You three, go up and try." The three middle-level cultivators' expressions changed. They looked at Lin Wutian with fear in their eyes. If one sword could kill an upper-level cultivator, wouldn't they be courting death? However, they didn't dare to refute. They could only hold their divine swords and move closer to Lin Wutian. Lin Wutian was anxious, but he didn't show any emotion on his face. Instead, he closed his eyes. The divine sword in his hand trembled slightly, and the sword's whistling sound echoed through the forest. Remember, when you are facing an enemy, you must first suppress them with your strength. No matter whether you can win or not, you must win with your momentum. If you are at the end of your rope, you must learn how to act tough and fight to survive. Yi Qinghan's words echoed in Lin Wutian's sea of consciousness, waking him up with a start. Whoosh! Lin Wutian opened his eyes. Instead of retreating, he walked toward the thousand-hand Buddha. Thousand-hand Buddha, letting two weaklings come up to die is really damaging to your reputation as a legendary-level cultivator. I'll let you have a taste of this move. Boom! 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 Lin Wutian stepped toward the thousand-hand Buddha, the divine sword in his hand shining brightly. The thousand-hand Buddha's expression changed slightly. He shouted indifferently, "Everyone, stop the Yar Saint. Today, I want to see how strong the strongest cultivator of the insane sect is." Chapter 1938. Although Lin Wutian was nervous, he didn't scare the thousand-hand Buddha, so his expression didn't change. Instead, he walked toward the thousand-hand Buddha with even more firm step. Whoosh! Yarshing's bloodline erupted, and his golden eyes didn't seem to come from a human's eyes. "Whether or not you can stop me will depend on your abilities." Whoosh! Yarshing held the staff of power in his hand and instantly shattered the void, disappearing from everyone's sight. Everyone was stunned. Suddenly, a sword light slashed across the throat of an upper-level realm expert. Black fog filled the air and enveloped his throat, then spread all over his body. Ah! The upper-level realm expert covered his throat and desperately tried to pull the poisonous gas away. However, the more he pulled, the more viscous the gas became. In the blink of an eye, it seeped into his bones. Boom! The figure that killed the upper-level realm expert flashed and disappeared, but everyone saw it clearly. It was Yen Yunbei. Apart from him, no one else in the Kuang sect could hide their presence. Even upper-level realm experts couldn't detect them. Lin Wutian was overjoyed. He didn't expect Yen Yunbei to follow them. "It's Uncle Yen. Everyone, hold back the other upper-level realm expert. Yarshing and I will kill this thousand-hand Buddha first." Lin Wutian bluffed and said in a deep voice. The thousand-hand Buddha's expression changed. He immediately waved his hand and said, "Retreat!" Whoosh! The thousand-hand Buddha took dozens of experts and fled in all directions. He wasn't sure if Lin Wutian had the ability to fight. If he lost the bet, he would die without a doubt. He didn't dare to take the risk, and he couldn't afford to. Lin Wutian almost couldn't stand firm after the thousand-hand Buddha took his people away. His body trembled, and his divine sword stabbed into the ground. He almost knelt on the ground. His back was drenched in cold sweat as he swallowed a few mouthfuls of elixirs. Emperor Yi heaved a sigh of relief. If the thousand-hand Buddha dared to take the risk, this group of people would die here. Whoosh, whoosh. Yarshing took a few deep breaths. He suddenly understood why Yi Qinghan was willing to share 2 elixirs with him. It turned out that he didn't have the ability to do so. He was just trying to scare him. Several hundred miles away, the thousand-hand Buddha's face was gloomy. He didn't expect that not only did he not obtain any benefits from this attack, he even lost the lives of 2 upper-level experts. Black Dragon, you were nearby when Lin Wutian made his move. Did you recognize which Holy Land's supreme footwork he used? The thousand-hand Buddha asked coldly. The expression of the upper-level cultivator, who had been standing in the northwest, suddenly changed. He quickly bowed and said, reporting to Supreme Venerable One, I did not see what kind of footwork it was. His speed was too fast. Before his figure dissipated, his real body had already appeared behind Shepherd Boy N. I only saw that the sword that Lin Wutian used to pierce Shepherd Boy N's throat was not the sword in his hand, but a wooden sword. The thousand-hand Buddha looked behind him gloomily and said, Lin Wutian's speed is at the legendary level. If he works with Yarshing, he'll be a threat to me. That wooden sword is also extraordinary. I can't afford to gamble with that assassin. I need a legendary level expert to work with me to stop them. Reporting to Supreme Venerable One, I heard that the legendary level bounty hunter is carrying out a mission in the War Race's territory. Why don't we join forces with him to kill Lin Wutian? Black Dragon bowed and reminded him. The thousand-hand Buddha sneered and said, killing Lin Wutian is not our goal. Then your goal is? Black Dragon asked curiously. 6 great experts heading to the Holy Land of Martial Dao Supremes at the same time. It's impossible that they weren't protecting a divine treasure. What divine treasure could the crazy sect have? Only the flying, immortal divine medicine, the thousand-hand Buddha said with certainty. At this moment, the remaining 8 upper-level experts suddenly shouted in shock. What? We just gave up on the flying, immortal divine medicine? The thousand-hand Buddha nodded and said in a low voice, previously, I didn't understand why the 6 great experts would move together. Even Yarshing came with them. Now I understand. Everyone was excited and looked at the thousand-hand Buddha. They had the momentum to rush back and fight again. The thousand-hand Buddha waved his hand and a map of the Milky Way appeared. On it was a map of the nearby area. Even if they want to cross the War Race and enter the Holy Land of Martial Dao Supremes, they still need 2 months. Hurry up and rush to the border area of the Holy Land of Martial Dao Supremes. Set up an encirclement here and wait. If they want to enter the Holy Land of Martial Dao Supremes, they have to go through Shuejia Pass. This canyon is where they have to pass through. I'll go find that person for help. With the 2 of us working together, even Xia Jilong will have to retreat, the thousand-hand Buddha said confidently. Yes, Supreme Venerable One. Black Dragon and the others cupped their fists and replied. Whoosh. The group quickly split into 2 groups. The thousand-hand Buddha went straight to the central area of the War Race, while the others went straight to Shuejia Pass. At this moment, Feng Huang, who had escaped from the Xixiang sacred ground, was rushing north in order to escape the pursuit of the Holy Empire's experts. Along the way, he avoided the crowds and never confronted anyone head-on. He didn't even have time to change out of his tattered clothes. Relying on medicinal herbs to heal his injuries, although his injuries were somewhat contained, his cultivation base was suppressed by more than half. Feng Huang hid in a cave and thought to himself, I have to enter the city to buy some high-level divine pills. Otherwise, I won't be able to recover at all. Feng Huang was a person who had traveled around the world. Naturally, he knew the surrounding terrain and quickly locked onto Shuijia Pass. The people from the insane sect rushed to Shuijia Pass from the southwest, while Feng Huang rushed to Shuijia Pass from the southeast. Although their starting points were different, they would all converge at Shuijia Pass. Their speed was similar and they would take the same time to reach the canyon in front of Shuijia Pass. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, Lin Wuqian had recovered 90% of his strength. In order to reach the Holy Land of Martial Dao Supremes as soon as possible, they had to speed up. The Group of Five and the hidden Yen Yunbei rushed to the north. Everywhere they passed, the adventurers would retreat. Yi Qinghan, who was far away in the Sky Reaching School, was holding the 10-character sutra. He was immersed in it and kept waving his hands to circulate his divine power to understand the profound meaning of the 10-character sutra. He had been cultivating for more than half a month, and Fanning had to rush back from the Xishiang sacred land. He was covered in dust and was very angry. When he saw Yi Qinghan cultivating, he beat him up to vent the anger in his heart. Yi Qinghan was innocent. The point was that this woman was unreasonable. She relied on her cultivation and realm, and she was also a legendary existence. Even if he was at his peak, he could not withstand more than a few moves. However, with Fanning's help, his 10-character sutra improved rapidly. In the 10 days since Fanning's return, Yi Qinghan was beaten up 10 times. Every time, his face was bruised and swollen. However, the speed of his improvement made Fanning furious. The first few times were easy, but the later times it became harder. Sometimes, she could not shake Yi Qinghan even when she used the realm of the middle level. Instead, she was accidentally beaten by him. On this day, Yi Qinghan took the initiative to find Fanning and said with a smile, "Senior Sister Fanning, shall we practice again? Damn it, you are using me to practice. There is no benefit. Why should I let you practice?" Fanning glared and said angrily. Chapter 1939. Fanning glared at Yi Qinghan. If Yi Qinghan's status was not fixed, she would have used her peak strength to teach him a lesson. Yi Qinghan smiled embarrassedly. He did not dare to irritate Fanning, but he hoped that Fanning could help him practice the 10-word formula and the shadowless cloud manipulation. He could only beg, "You are my senior sister, and only you know the 10-word formula. Please help me." Fanning snorted and thought for a moment. Suddenly, her eyes brightened. She rubbed her hands and said, "Let's go to find Xia Jilong. You help me stop his followers, and I will ravage him. It's boring to fight with you. I'm afraid that I will cripple you." Yi Qinghan opened his mouth and was speechless. He could not even defeat Fanning. If he went to find trouble with Xia Jilong, wouldn't he be miserable if Fanning could not defeat him? Xia Jilong might give face to the Sky Reaching School and not teach Fanning a lesson, but Xia Jilong had a bad opinion of him. "What's wrong? Are you afraid?" Fanning raised her eyebrows and asked. "Afraid?" Yi Qinghan's eyes widened. He had never been afraid of anything in his life. He immediately rolled up his sleeves and said, "Now that I've mastered the 10-word formula, even if I can't use 100% of my strength, I can still use 70% of it. I've also cultivated the Shadowless Cloud mantra to the 20th level, and with the Cloud Boots, I'm at least half a legendary level, if not legendary level. Since you are not afraid, follow me. Staying in the Sky Reaching School all day long, your leg hair will grow out." Fanning said irritably. Yi Qinghan looked at her long, white legs. They were as white as paper, long and slender like spears. He couldn't even see any pores on them. They were like congealed fat, causing anyone who saw them to drool. If they were to grow hair, Yi Qinghan couldn't help but look between her legs and smile wickedly. Fanning was angry. A flame flashed in her eyes. She grinned and said coldly, "I'll let you escape for 30 minutes. If I catch up with you, I will cut off your root." Even if we can't be brother and sister, we can still be sisters. Yi Qinghan suddenly took a breath and ran away. In the blink of an eye, he rushed out of the headquarter of the Sky-Reaching School and went straight to the Holy Land in the west. Whoosh! The cloud manipulation mental cultivation was really without a trace, was like riding the clouds. However, Yi Qinghan felt that it was still too slow. He wished he could grow 2 more wings and a few more legs. He would look back from time to time, afraid that Fanine would catch up. Boss, you irritated her. The divine bird crawled out, trembling, and said in horror, "Why don't you give me to her and let her cool down first?" "Shut up. I didn't say anything. I just looked at her there. What's there to see through her clothes? Why are you angry at me?" Yi Qinghan snorted. The divine bird curled its lips and reminded him disdainfully, "The strong don't talk reason. They talk with their fists. Now to B, to reach A now. To the F, as long as B. As long as he, F, far away in the holy land of Shixiang." Xia Zhilong looked around. He didn't find the tomb mentioned in the nursery rhyme even after searching many times. He couldn't help but wonder if someone was deliberately making fun of him to lure him here. The 9 mansion masters and Xian Xiu brought many experts to search the surrounding millions of li. Not only did they not find the tomb, but even the emperor had disappeared without a trace. On this day, the Holy Empire's intelligence department sent an upper-level elder. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't send such an expert. Once an upper-level elder was sent, it would be an earth-shattering event. Xia Zhilong's dragon robe fluttered, and his aura soared. He stood in the valley and stared at the upper-level elder. He asked in a deep voice, "What is it that made Elder Lai Yun personally come to find this emperor?" "Your Highness, it is great news." Lai Yun's face was filled with joy as he bowed and said, "Lin Wutian of the Insane Sect, Yar Saint of the Oshi Sacred Ground, Zhuo Shuguang, and the 2 saintesses of the Martial Path Supreme Sacred Ground were secretly escorted by Yen Yunbei of the Insane Sect to the Martial Path Supreme Sacred Ground. They were first stopped by the Thousand-Hand Buddha, but the Thousand-Hand Buddha didn't know that Lin Wutian had the legendary step technique. He didn't dare to fight against Yar Saint and Lin Wutian." Xia Zhilong's eyes shone brightly as he asked, "Is the news true? They dared to leave the heaven-suppressing city with the immortal herbs." "Your Highness, according to my estimation, there is at least a 70% chance. Otherwise, Yen Yunbei wouldn't be escorting them in secret. Let's not talk about Yarxing. Let's talk about the 2 princesses of the Martial Tao Supreme Holy Land. No one would try to stop them. There's no need for Yarxing, Lin Wutian, and Zhuo Shuguang to escort them to the Martial Tao Supreme Holy Land. Now that the 3 of them are following them, and Yen Yunbei, the top assassin, is secretly escorting them, what else can they be escorting other than the immortal elixir?" Xia Zhilong thought for a moment and felt that it made sense. "Xian Xiu, come back. The rest of you, return to the Saint Empire." Xia Zhilong placed his hands behind his back and rushed into the sky. He channeled his divine power and shouted, "Xiu!" Xian Xiu stepped into the void and came from afar. He asked respectfully, "Your Highness, what are your orders?" "Follow me to Shuijia Pass." Xia Zhilong lowered his voice and said. As soon as he finished speaking, Xia Zhilong stepped into the void and his figure twisted, disappearing into the sky. Xian Xiu followed closely behind and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The 9 mansion lords watched as Xia Zhilong and Xian Xiu left. They gathered their experts and rushed towards the Saint Empire. Xiu. In the sky, 2 streaks of flames were chasing each other like shooting stars. "Yi Qinghan, if I catch up to you, you're dead." The heavenly voice contained waves of anger that swept through the heavens and earth, causing the hair of those who heard it to stand on end. Yi Qinghan wished that he could grow 8 legs. He ran wildly in the sky and constantly changed his route, hoping to shake off Fan Yin. "It's over, it's over." He's going to catch up. The divine bird screamed in fear. Shut your crow's beak. Yi Qinghan was sweating profusely as he roared angrily. Xiao! Yi Qinghan's body was on fire from the friction. He used the cloud manipulation boots to its peak, but even so, he was still not as fast as Fan Yin. One could imagine how terrifying a legendary existence was. Even the thousand-hand Buddha could only be considered half a legendary existence. At least in terms of speed, he could not be compared to Fan Yin. Whoosh! The two quickly closed in on the sacred land of Xixiang. The divine bird suddenly shouted, "Boss, the 9 mansion lords are below." At this moment, the 9 mansion lords also looked up at the sky. The two figures were too fast for them to ignore. So fast. One of the mansion lords said in shock. Boom! Yi Qinghan landed in front of the crowd. He couldn't stop in time and kicked up a cloud of smoke and flames. Even his boots were on fire. It's you! The 9 mansion lords were shocked. They didn't expect it to be Yi Qinghan. Where's your crown prince? Tell me. Tell him to come out and save us. Yi Qinghan cried out. Boom! Fan Yin's white dress fluttered, revealing her snow-white thighs. However, none of the 9 mansion lords dared to look. They all retreated with fear in their eyes. Chapter 1940. As Fan Yin descended, she stood firmly in front of everyone, not moving at all. It was clear how terrifying her control of power was. Fan Yin didn't look at the others, but at Yi Qinghan. Her beautiful lips curled into an evil smile. You're quite fast. I wonder if your speed will improve after I break your third leg. If it does, you don't need to thank me. Hearing this, Yi Qinghan's hair stood on end. He quickly followed the 9 mansion masters away from Fan Yin. His hands covered his crotch as his expression changed. Beauty, you're joking with me, right? I got here before you. How can you go back on your words? The 9 mansion masters finally understood why Yi Qinghan came to Prince Xiaojilong to save his life. It turned out that there was such an ancestor behind him. Peerless beauty, why don't we ask where Prince Xiaojilong went first? This seems to be more important. The divine bird slyly reminded. Fan Yin frowned. Looking at the 9 mansion masters and the experts behind them, she was also curious. Didn't this guy come to the tomb after hearing the nursery rhyme? Why did he let these people come back? Where's that idiot Xiaojilong? Fan Yin asked with her hands on her hip. The 9 mansion masters were angry, but they didn't dare to say anything. They were all afraid of offending this living ancestor. However, many of the people behind them didn't recognize Fan Yin at all. They all angrily scolded, "Impudent! How dare you blaspheme the crown prince?" Fan Yin was like a hoodlum. She raised her head and sneered, "Hm? What did you say? I can't hear you." "Shut up, all of you." The 9 mansion masters scolded in unison, then hurriedly bowed and said, "Senior Fan Yin, please don't be angry. These little ones haven't seen the world and don't recognize you. You're a great person, so please don't hold it against them." The people behind the 9 mansion masters were instantly enraged. They didn't expect the 9 mansion masters to bow and apologize to this unladylike hoodlum. Seeing that the 9 mansion masters' attitude was decent, she didn't pursue the matter any further. She calmly asked, "Where's your crown prince?" "Senior sister, you're making things difficult for us. How could you tell us where His Highness the Crown Prince is going?" The Zhen Yun Manor's mansion master quickly said. Yi Qinghan and Fan Yin looked at each other in surprise, not understanding why Xiaojilong would leave alone. "Get lost. I can find his tracks." Fan Yin thought for a moment and waved her hand impatiently. The 9 prefectures had been waiting for this sentence. They immediately led everyone away from the area as if they were running away from the god of plague. On the plains, only Yi Qinghan and Fan Yin were left. Yi Qinghan rubbed his hands together and said with an embarrassed smile, "Beautiful senior apprentice sister, let's first unite against the outside world and find Xiaojilong." His departure was strange, so something big must have happened. Fanine snorted and waved his hand to take out the yin-yang 8 trigrams mirror. The inscriptions on it were dim, and there was nothing special about it. Yi Qinghan looked at Fanine. She bit her finger and drew a circle on the 8 trigrams mirror with her bleeding finger. The inscriptions were immediately activated, and light shot out in all directions. Tai Chi to the infinite, 4 divisions to the 10 directions, yin and yang to the universe, 8 trigrams to lock the soul, heaven and earth to track, appear. Fanine threw the 8 trigrams mirror into the air, and formed a seal with her fingers. A small corner of clothes appeared at her fingertip. It was unknown what it was, but when the corner of clothes imprinted on the 8 trigrams mirror, Xia Zhilong's figure appeared in the center of the mirror. The surrounding mountains and precipitous ridges flashed past. Whoosh! A moment later, the corner of clothes turned into fine powder and began to burn. The 8 trigrams mirror directly dimmed. In the distant horizon, Xia Zhilong quickly stopped. He frowned and looked around. He calculated with his fingers and coldly said, "Someone actually used something I used to deduce my location. They are really courting death." Fanine looked at the dim 8 trigrams mirror and recalled the location Xia Zhilong passed by. That mountain range seemed to be the end of the Western continent Holy Land. According to Xia Zhilong's tracks, he should be entering the war race's territory soon. Why is he going to the war race's territory? Fanine frowned. Yi Qinghan was slightly stunned. He suddenly had a bad feeling. The war race was north of the insane sect, and the Martial Way Supremacy Holy Land was north of the war race's territory. If one wanted to enter the Martial Way Supremacy Holy Land, they had to pass through the war race's territory. Logically speaking, Lin Wutian should be in the war race's territory right now. Not good. He might be going for the celestial medicine. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He didn't have time to say more. He stepped on the mountain rocks and turned into a long rainbow, rushing towards the northwest like a divine sword. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Fanine quickly caught up with Yi Qinghan and asked, "Isn't the celestial medicine in your insane sect's headquarters?" "He is going to the war race." "What does that have to do with the celestial medicine?" "There is no time to explain. Let's rush to the war race's territory first and try to catch up with him," Yi Qinghan said hurriedly. At this moment, Xia Zhilong's speed was even faster. Even Xian Xiu couldn't keep up with him. Yi Qinghan and Fanine were as fast as lightning, desperately chasing after him. They had almost used their trump cards and no longer held back. The two's speed seemed to be 3 times faster than before. Yi Qinghan took pills all the way, not daring to relax at all. Nothing must happen to the celestial medicine. Otherwise, the insane sect would be finished. He had promised so many holy lands. If he went back on his word, those holy lands would bury the insane sect. For the sake of the celestial medicine and Lin Wutian's safety, Yi Qinghan used shadowless clouds and green lotus celestial steps seizing the heavens. Although his understanding of the green lotus celestial steps seizing the heavens was only superficial, a legendary technique was extraordinary. It instantly increased his speed by 10%. 10% of his speed was nothing to others, but to people at Yi Qinghan's level, it was much faster. Fanine was quite surprised. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's speed was not much slower than hers. Moreover, there was a faint green lotus above Yi Qinghan's head. If one didn't look carefully, they would think that it was just an illusion caused by the distortion of space. The person behind this guy is indeed an eternal sovereign. Someone who can have such a technique is definitely not simple. Fanine nodded secretly. She remembered it in her heart but didn't say it out loud. The two's speed was faster than Xian Xiu's. In order to take care of Xian Xiu, Xia Zhilong had no choice but to slow down. The gap between the 4 gradually narrowed. At this time, Lin Wutian and the others were disguised. The 3 beauties were dressed as men. They looked like a group of adventurers. Their speed was greatly reduced, but they avoided the eyes of many scouts. They often mixed in with other adventurer teams to confuse the scouts. On this day, Emperor Feng suddenly changed his route and took the risk to enter the human activity area. His injuries could not be delayed any longer. Emperor Feng quickly approached the adventurer team where Lin Wutian and the others were. There were about 100 adventurers camping in a valley. Emperor Feng's speed was very fast. Blood overflowed from his chest. His face was pale and he was barehanded. The light in his eyes was scattered, and the valley in front of him was shaking. Lin Wutian raised his eyebrows and looked outside the valley. Emperor Feng's aura was so powerful that it was impossible for them not to feel it. The 5 people were vigilant at the same time. They had no choice but to be vigilant in the face of a true powerhouse. At this time, Emperor Feng covered his wound and stepped into the valley, attracting everyone's attention. Hua-in. Everyone took out their divine weapons and pointed at Emperor Feng. Who is it? Even Yarxing didn't recognize Emperor Feng, let alone the others. Lin Wutian and the others didn't know that Yi Qinghan had a relationship with Emperor Feng. Fellow Taoists, I am severely injured and in urgent need of an upper-level healing pill. If any of you are willing to lend me a hand, I will repay you with my life. Feng Huang said in a deep voice as he leaned against a rock. Chapter 1941. Not only did Feng Huang's plea for help not make them want to save him, but it also made them want to kill him. In fact, aside from Lin Wutian and the others, who else in this group could take out an upper-level healing medicine? Even if they could, who wouldn't be worried about saving this unknown expert? Even Emperor Yer and Lin Wutian were worried, let alone these adventurers. The great world is very chaotic. Don't get involved. Our mission is the most important. Emperor Yer reminded. Lin Wutian, Emperor Yi, and Zhou Shuguang all nodded secretly. They didn't want to get involved in Feng Huang's matter. Life and death were fated, and they couldn't care less. However, Wu Xing'er, a child who grew up in a greenhouse, hadn't recovered her memories. Seeing Feng Huang's pitiful appearance, she couldn't help but stand up and take out a round golden pill. However, before she could take the first step, she was stopped by Emperor Yi. Sister, this person's background is unknown. It's better not to interfere, Emperor Yi reminded her telepathically. He doesn't look like a bad person. Besides, saving a life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda. We don't need him to repay us for saving him. It's just a healing medicine. We won't lose anything. Wu Xing'er stared at Feng Huang's pale face. The wound on his chest kept bleeding, and his clothes were ragged. He didn't have any armor or divine weapons. He didn't even have a storage ring. He looked like a beggar who came out of a mountain. He didn't look like an expert at all. No one could convince Wu Xing'er. She broke free from Emperor Ye's arm and brought the round golden healing medicine to Feng Huang. However, she was also very cautious. When she was 2 or 3 meters away, she threw it over. Then, she immediately took a few steps back to maintain a safe distance. I don't need you to repay us, but you can't make things difficult for us even after you recover, Wu Xing'er said crisply. Feng Huang took the holy pill, looked at Wu Xing'er and bowed deeply. He said gratefully, "Thank you, benefactor, for helping me. You should quickly meditate and heal your injuries. I will guard you for a while. We will leave when the sun rises." Wu Xing'er did not have any ulterior motives, which made Feng Huang less vigilant. Lin Wutian and the others shook their heads and smiled bitterly. Yarxing understood that although Emperor Feng was seriously injured, he could still have such a powerful pressure. If he recovered to his peak state, even if he was not at the legendary stage, he could hold back a legendary stage for a while. If he was really an enemy, it would probably cause a lot of trouble. Zhou Shuguang frowned as he stared at Feng Huang. He had a feeling that he had seen this person somewhere before, but it had been so long that he couldn't be sure. Feng Huang had been imprisoned for 30,000 years, long enough for countless people to forget. There were very few people who could remember that there was a Feng Huang in a great world who could contend with Xia Zhilong when he was young. Feng Huang sat cross-legged on the ground and swallowed the holy pill. The divine power in his body quickly rushed to his wounds, helping him recover. His injuries healed quickly, and his aura grew stronger. The group of adventurers was shocked. They did not dare to stay here for long. After all, no one could be sure of Feng Huang's identity. If he was a murderous demon who killed without blinking an eye, who could survive after waking up and starting a massacre, everyone glared at Lin Wutian and the others fiercely. The leader of the group even scolded, "You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You saved people before investigating clearly. If this person's enemy is from the Holy Land or a powerful sect, we will all be implicated. From now on, we will go our separate ways. Don't follow us anymore." After saying that, everyone in the adventurer team got up and quickly left the valley, leaving Lin Wutian and the others with the bonfire. Lin Wutian smiled bitterly and shook his head. Wu Xing-er's identity was the reincarnation of Bai Shaoxing. He could not scold her, so he could only let her do whatever she wanted. The night passed quickly, and the wound on Feng Huang's chest recovered by more than half. His vitality was majestic, and his aura was restrained. He was like a powerful supreme being, making Yar Xing An's Wushuguang's hair stand on end. Once this kind of person exploded, he could be a threat to legendary beings. Huff, huff. Feng Huang opened his eyes and took a few deep breaths. He felt that his peak combat power was slowly recovering. He could not help but be curious about Wu Xing-er's identity. Such a holy pill could not be owned by a simple adventurer. "Thank you for your help, Fairy. It is inconvenient for me to reveal my name. Please tell me your identities. I will definitely repay you generously." Feng Huang stood up and bowed with cupped fist. Before Wu Xing-er could speak, Emperor Yi stood up and immediately said, "It is inconvenient for us to reveal our identities. Fellow Taoist, the holy pill just now is a gift to you. There is no need for you to repay our kindness. You may leave." Feng Huang was stunned. He looked up at Lin Wutian and the others, but he did not know any of them. Even an expert like Zhuguang was a junior to him. When he was imprisoned, Zhuguang was just a young talent who had just developed. As for Lin Wutian, Emperor Yi, and the others, it was even more impossible for him to know them. However, when Emperor Feng looked at Yarxing, he immediately reacted and said in surprise, "That golden-eyed fairy is from the Oshi Holy Land, right? Her bloodline should be very noble. She is so young and so powerful. According to my calculations, she should be the new holy maiden of the Emperor, Yarxing Fairy, right?" Yarxing was shocked. He did not know who this person was. Logically speaking, such an existence should be very sure of his identity. Why did this person have to calculate? Could it be that this person had disappeared for many years? "Who are you?" Yarxing asked in a deep voice. Feng Huang smiled bitterly. Now that the Holy Empire was trying to capture him, how could he dare to reveal his identity? "If you can't reveal your identity, please leave. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite," Yarxing warned coldly. Lin Wutian's hand was already on the hilt of his sword, ready to attack at any time. "Fellow Taoists, this kindness will be repaid in the future. Please forgive me for not revealing my identity." Feng Huang bowed and apologized again, then quickly left the valley. Once Feng Huang left, Lin Wutian quickly got up and said, "Let's leave quickly. Who knows who is chasing him? If we provoke other forces, we won't have a chance to explain even if we want to." The five of them quickly extinguished the bonfire and hid in the forest. In this kind of mountainous area, finding someone was like finding a needle in a haystack. No wonder the Thousand-Hand Buddha's group could only block them at certain places they had to pass. At the border of the war race, at the intersection of the holy land of Xixiang, Xia Zhilong and Xian Xiu had already stepped into the mountains. They had been running for more than 30 days without slowing down. At this time, the two of them were sweating profusely and had no choice but to rest. Although Xian Xiu was in the upper realm, his speed was not as fast as Xia Zhilong's. At this moment, he was a bit annoyed and said helplessly, "Your Highness, I've dragged you down. If this continues, we might be a step too late." Xia Zhilong sat on the ground and rested for a while. After eating a few pills, he said, "Don't worry, those people from the insane sect aren't that stupid. They won't be easily blocked by the thousand-hand Buddha. Let's rest for half a day. Go catch some wild beasts to fill our stomachs first." In the hinterland of the holy land of Xixiang, Yi Qinghan and Fan Yin were chasing each other. After running for a month, their legs couldn't stand steadily and were constantly trembling. "I can't take it anymore, I need to rest for a while. Damn, that son of a bitch Xia Zhilong can really run. I actually chased him for a month and still couldn't catch him." Fan Yin landed in a valley and was so tired that she directly laid on a small rock and said shamelessly, "Brat, help me rub my legs. My legs are going to break." Yi Qinghan sat beside Fan Yin. Rubbing a beauty's legs was a happy thing, but at this moment, he didn't have any strength to rub those white legs. Chapter 1942. Yi Qinghan sat on the ground, lazily leaning against the peerless beauty. He wanted to raise his hand, but he couldn't. For the past month, he hadn't even had the time to catch his breath. His cultivation was much lower than Fan Yin's to begin with, so it was already a miracle that he could keep up with her speed. Fan Yin's body was not as perverted as Yi Qinghan's. At this moment, her legs were straight and her whole body was tense. Seeing that Yi Qinghan did not move, she immediately threatened, "If you don't take good care of me today, I will make you feel uncomfortable every day." Yi Qinghan had no choice but to slowly move his body. He knelt in front of Fan Yin and hugged her long legs. Instead of kneading, he fumbled. Fan Yin's hair stood on end and she sent him flying with a kick. "Get me something to eat. What a piece of trash. He can't even do proper things. I'm doing this to protect your immortal medicine. Otherwise, I wouldn't be so desperate to chase after that idiot," Fan Yin said angrily. Yi Qinghan stood up awkwardly. He was flustered and exasperated. He really wanted to press this arrogant woman down in this small valley and *CK her 100 times. However, he could not win against her and could only endure. A moment later, Yi Qinghan found a few intelligent wild rabbits and tender wild beasts. He washed them in a nearby stream and set them up for barbecue. Not long after, a rich aroma wafted through the air. Fan Yin smelled the aroma and finally became interested. She spread her legs and stood on a rock like a hooligan. She did not look like a beautiful woman at all. Yi Qinghan looked at those slender legs and pursed his lip. If such beauty was shown by someone else, he would naturally admire it. However, he really had no interest in admiring Fan Yin's legs. He also did not dare to look at her with the eyes of a man. Finally, there is someone who is presentable. Fan Yin shook her head and sighed. It was as if she was disappointed that Yi Qinghan did not live up to her expectations. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes and defended himself. "Can you not speak so harshly? How long have I been practicing the 10-word formula? I have already achieved small success. Am I not more talented than you? Do you think you're all that just because you've achieved small accomplishment? Back then, I only used half a year to cultivate the 10-character incantation, which is about the same as you. But at the later stage, it is difficult to advance even half a step. Do you think it will only take half a year to reach the Deshang stage? Even if you were given 800 years, you might not be able to reach the great accomplishment stage, and then the great perfection stage. You might not even be able to reach it in your entire life." Fan Yin roared, "There are too many people like you who are not even half full. You are so arrogant just because you have a little achievement. I despise you from the bottom of my heart. Yi Qinghan was trembling with anger. The divine bird hurriedly reminded him, "You have to lower your head when you're under someone else's roof. Keep a low profile and don't provoke her. Do you still think she's a woman?" Fortunately, the divine bird was using the contract to transmit its voice. Otherwise, if the Sanskrit voice heard it, it would definitely turn the world upside down. Sigh. Yi Qinghan sighed heavily. His talent had always been his pride. This woman was simply sent by the heavens to attack him. Fan Yin did not care. She dodged the barbecue on the rack, and began to chew on it without caring about how hot it was. A fragrant smell assailed her nostrils. It was fatty but not greasy. It was a top-grade item that replenished blood and qi. After eating half of it, half of her tiredness dissipated. Not bad, not bad. Fan Yin's mouth was oily. She chewed on the fragrant barbecue and said, "Kid, you will follow me in the future. Barbecue for me and I will not treat you badly." Yi Qinghan chewed on the barbecue and looked at Fan Yin with disdain. He secretly said, "Wait until 1,000 years later, I will sleep with you until you can't stand up." The two ate and quarreled. Soon, the barbecue was finished. "I'm going to wash up. You keep an eye on the surroundings. If you dare to peek at me, I'll cut off your position as the second master," Fan Yin said domineeringly as she swung her oily hands after eating and drinking to her heart's content. Yi Qinghan curled his lips in disdain. He looked her up and down and said lightly, "You're not wearing anything in front of me. If I look at you, I'll be acting like a hooligan. What's the difference between what you wear and what you don't wear?" When Fan Yin heard this, she suddenly exploded. She pinned Yi Qinghan down and beat him up. She only stopped when Yi Qinghan begged for mercy. Yi Qinghan was helpless. He could only be her lookout. After a long time, he heard a splash and knew that Fan Yin had fallen into the water. "Sigh, how am I going to live like this?" Yi Qinghan said with a sigh. The divine bird jumped out and said with disdain, "You don't know how lucky you are. You have such a beauty by your side and you still don't know how to be content. This divine bird is the one who's having a hard time. I think my little money grubber is here. I don't know if my son has come out or not. How can this bastard be so good at holding back? He actually hid in the egg for thousands of years. Isn't he tired?" Speaking of the little money grubber, Yi Qinghan felt that the divine bird was really pitiful. Even though he was experienced and had seen all kinds of strange things, he had never seen an egg that hadn't hatched for thousands of years. It was just that they didn't know that the little divine bird had already come out. Half a day later, Fan Yin came out of the water. She had changed into a green dress, but the style was the same as before. It was very stunning. Yi Qinghan looked at this peerless beauty. Although he didn't admit it, he had to admit that this woman was definitely a stunner. She was a woman who made men unable to sleep at night. She was charming to the bone. The temperature of the water is not bad. It can relieve fatigue. You should go wash up too so that you won't be a burden to me. Fan Yin stretched lazily. Her every move made a man's heart beat restlessly. That indescribable figure made Yi Qinghan's heart beat wildly. His heartbeat sped up a lot. Gulp! Yi Qinghan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and quickly shifted his gaze. He jogged to the side of the stream, took off his jacket, and quickly jumped into the water. The warm water was like a hot spring. Waves of spiritual energy flowed into his body through his pores. It was indescribably comfortable. Yi Qinghan couldn't help but moan. After soaking in the water for an hour, his fatigue had disappeared. The speed at which he absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth had increased. He had almost stepped into the middle realm. His divine power was ready to move. He could break through at any time. Awesome! Yi Qinghan leaned against a rock and stretched. He raised his head to look at the sky and was almost scared to death. It turned out that Fan Een was squatting on a rock behind him. His body was clearly seen by her. "Damn, are you trying to scare me to death? You hoodlum, is there a woman like you? You actually peep at a man." Yi Qinghan covered his chest and dived into the water. He angrily reprimanded. "Tisk, tsk, tsk. This old lady wants to see. How is that an honor for you? If you dare to talk nonsense with me again, I'll let you go to the war race's territory naked." Fan Een tyrannically said. Yi Qinghan didn't dare to act shamelessly with this woman. If by any chance she really crippled his second head, he wouldn't even have a place to cry. Helpless, he hurriedly put on the divine protective garment and jumped ashore. He took the lead to rush to the war race's territory. Chapter 1943. A few days later, the two arrived at the southwest of the Xisiang Holy Land. They were about a day's journey away from Xia Zhilong, who was at the border of the war clan. Xia Zhilong and Xian Xiu continued their journey. Both sides were chasing each other, and the distance between them was getting closer. In the hinterland of the war clan, Lin Wutian and the others tried their best to keep a low profile and not alert the experts of the war clan. They hoped to reach the martial supreme Holy Land as soon as possible. However, such a big thing had happened in the war clan's territory. The war clan was relatively cautious. They were not sure if Lin Wutian had the celestial medicine with him. They did not want to send out the older generation experts to prevent people from gossiping. The Thousand-Hand Buddha and the true disciple of the bounty hunter headquarters, Gong Wuxing, have joined forces and are heading towards Xuejia Pass. Once they stop Lin Wutian and the others, they will have no chance to resist. We are not sure if Lin Wutian really has the celestial medicine with him. If he doesn't, won't we offend the crazy sect? Although the crazy sect is a small sect, they are the owners of the celestial medicine. Moreover, they took our share. If we ambush them now, we will be ridiculed by the world. The reputation of the war clan will also plummet. However, if Lin Wutian really has the celestial medicine with him, if we don't send people, won't we be giving the celestial medicine away? The war clan elder, War King, looked around and said in a deep voice, "Imperial Uncle Zhan Wang is right. Regardless of whether Lin Wutian has brought the celestial medicine out or not, we must send some strong cultivators to observe and wait for an opportunity to act," said a middle-aged cultivator who supported the old Zhan Wang's decision. However, there were many objections. One of the conservative elders said lightly, "You are all too cautious. What kind of treasure is the celestial medicine? Will Yi Qinghan allow Lin Wutian to bring a few people to escort the celestial medicine across several holy lands to the martial supreme Holy Land? I am sure that Lin Wutian definitely doesn't have the celestial medicine with him. The celestial medicine is in the hands of the eternal sovereign behind the crazy sect. Therefore, we don't need to send out the war sons. If we act rashly, we will offend the blessed Buddha temple and the bounty hunter." The old war king said angrily, "Sixth brother, when did you become so timid? Are you still from the war clan? Right now, they are in my battle clan's territory. Could it be that they want us to retreat? Third brother, we're not young anymore. We don't have the courage to fight against the Holy Lands. Offending the two Holy Lands for a small sect like Guangzhong is not courage, it's ignorance." The sixth brother sighed. "Sixth brother, what if Lin Wutian really has the celestial elixir? Otherwise, how could they explain why Lin Wutian, Zhou Shuguang, and Yar Xing would protect the two girls from the martial Tao Supreme Holy Land to the extreme north? I'm afraid that even a 3-year-old child would know that the two little girls' defensive sacred weapons are hard to break. No one would want to offend these two, so there's no need for them to go to the martial Tao Supreme Holy Land." Another old man reminded in a deep voice. The dignified elder sitting on the main seat of the war race imperial palace didn't say anything from the beginning to the end. He just looked at everyone arguing. Overall, more than half of the people supported the old war king's idea to send experts to the Snow Jia Pass. After a long time, the dignified elder finally spoke. His deep voice echoed in the main hall. Brothers, there's no need to argue. Whether it's for public or private reasons, we have to send experts. Let the son of war go, just let him gain experience. Moreover, Gong Wuxing and the thousand-hand Buddha are both true disciples. It's not too much to send him. After he finished speaking, everyone stopped arguing. The main hall returned to silence. The patriarch of the war race looked at the old war king and said, "Third brother, go and inform the son of war. However, you can't go to the Snow Jia Pass personally. The younger generation can play around, but tell him not to kill anyone. After all, there's only one true disciple in each holy land." The old war king bowed slightly and then left the main hall. Half an hour later, two figures rushed out of the war race imperial city. One of them was Zhang Jiuxiao, who often roamed the world. He was also the saint son of the war race. He roamed the world and represented the strongest among the younger generation of the war race. However, the real upper echelons knew that the saint's son was just a figurehead. His battle strength was indeed the strongest among the younger generation, but he wasn't the strongest. Zhang Jiuxiao followed the black-robed young man closely. His speed was getting faster and faster. However, the black-robed young man was neither fast nor slow. The distance between them was always about 3 meters. He was the son of war, a true disciple of the war race. Even Zhang Jiuxiao had to call him big brother in front of him. The son of war's battle blood had already reached the ancestral awakening. His bloodline was even more noble than the current patriarch. He was an existence that the war race nurtured with all their might. Just like what the patriarch said, there was only one true disciple in each holy land. However, the true disciples of the holy lands rarely appeared in the world, especially in secret realms. Although they were strong, they didn't have much chance of surviving when facing Xia Jilong. Therefore, they never entered secret realms. Although the true disciples were all at the legendary level, the legendary level was also divided into 3, 6, and 9 realms. If Xia Jilong was in the upper 3 realms, then the others were at most in the 6th realm. Perhaps Fan Yin could also be considered in the upper 3 realms. In terms of age, Xia Jilong was also the oldest. He was several tens of thousands of years older than the other true disciples. 10,000 years of growth wasn't in vain. If the other true disciples wanted to surpass Xia Jilong, they would have to imprison him for 10,000 years and prevent him from cultivating. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to surpass him unless they encountered a great opportunity in this lifetime. The son of war's aura was restrained. He was extremely low-key as he rapidly approached the Shuejia Pass in the north. At this moment, the one closest to the Shuejia Pass was the thousand-hand Buddha. However, there was another man beside him. He was wearing luxurious clothes and was wearing gold and silver. He held a scimitar in his hand and had a cold expression. This was Gong Wuxing. Although his name was Wu Xing, in reality, he was invincible and undefeatable. He was slightly older than the other true disciples, but younger than Xia Jilong. Therefore, in terms of strength, he was definitely stronger than your saint. I say, thousand-hand Buddha, are you sure those kids have immortal medicine? If they don't, wouldn't we be ridiculed by the world if we joined hands to deal with them? Gong Wuxing frowned and asked. Ba. Brother Gong, sometimes you need to gamble. This time, the immortal medicine has appeared. Several holy lands have a share of immortal medicine. Only we haven't. Are you willing to accept this? The thousand-hand Buddha's face was filled with boundless Buddhist intent, but the cold light in his eyes made people's hair stand on end. Humph! Gong Wuxing snorted coldly. Without immortal medicine, they would fall behind the other true disciples. This was something he didn't want to see. Brother Gong, don't be angry. This time, whether Lin Wutian has immortal medicine or not, we have to catch them. If they have immortal medicine, that would be the best. If they don't, I believe that Lin Wutian's life is worth one immortal medicine. Together with Zhuo Shuguang's immortal medicine, we have 2 immortal medicine. Ha ha ha, otherwise, why do you think I asked you to stop them? The thousand-hand Buddha laughed and said. Gong Wusheng felt that what the thousand-hand Buddha said was reasonable and immediately nodded. Chapter 1944. The Milky Way was boundless, the roads were long, and the mountains were rugged. Occasionally, there would be powerful adventurers flying in the sky to kill powerful beasts, obtain demon cores, and look for herbs. Looking from afar, there was a group of 5 people in disguise. It was impossible to tell their identity from afar. However, once they got closer, they could tell that they were Lin Wutian and the others. They did not know that the thousand-hand Buddha had brought the direct disciples of the bounty hunters to wait for them at the canyon in front of the Shuejia Pass. They were now approaching the canyon. The distance was less than 2,000 miles. Compared to their peak speed, it would only take them half an hour. After traveling for another 1,000 or so miles, they were able to see the canyon from the top of the mountain. Shua. Yan Yunbei appeared beside the 5 of them and said faintly, "You guys set up camp here first and rest for half a day. I'll go ahead to explore the road ahead. The road ahead is the only way to Shuejia Pass and the holy land of Martial Dao Supreme. It's easy to be blocked." "Sorry to trouble you, Uncle Yan." Lin Wutian bowed. Yan Yunbei did not say much. His figure flashed and he jumped into the canyon. He disappeared after a few turns. The Snowy Peak Canyon was a famous canyon in the outside world. It was the only way to the sacred ground of the Martial Dao Supremes. It was extremely dangerous. The canyon was steep. The peaks on both sides of the canyon were almost reaching the sky. The top was as cold as the extreme north. The coldest place could freeze an expert in an instant. The most terrifying thing was the monsoon. It was sharper than divine weapons and could cut through everything. The 2 sides of the Snowy Peak Canyon were isolated from the divine sense. It was the most suitable place for an ambush. The cave was covered by snow. No one would be able to find out who was hiding halfway up the mountain. The snow stopped halfway up the mountain. The bottom was actually covered with thorns. At the bottom was a dense forest with birds and beasts everywhere. Under the canyon, there were many pedestrians. Most of them were adventurers. Looking from the outside, there was no murderous aura. Yan Yunbei was one of the top assassins in the world. His sensitivity to murderous aura was definitely not inferior to those powerful direct disciples. He hid in a mountain not far away and stared at the canyon for half an hour. The faint murderous aura was covered by the cold wind. If he was not so sensitive to murderous aura, he would not have sensed the faint murderous aura. However, after searching for a long time, he still could not find the location of the thousand-hand Buddha. Whoosh! When the sky turned dark, Yan Yunbei pulled out a short dagger from his ankle. It was only about 10 centimeters long and was very dark. It was hidden in the dark night and was impossible to find. Whoosh! Yan Yunbei actually took the risk to enter the side of the canyon and climbed up the mountain peak under the cover of the night. At least 100 warriors were hiding on both sides of the mountain peak. They had restrained their auras. Since they hadn't received any signal, they had shielded their soul consciousness. They didn't know anything about the outside world. They were afraid that Lin Wutian and the others would discover them. However, this was convenient for Yan Yunbei. Yan Yunbei held the dagger in his hand. His eyes glowed as he searched for his target like a wolf. After a long time, Yan Yunbei quietly approached a patch of dense brambles. Behind the brambles was a middle-level expert. Puchi. The expert was meditating with his eyes closed, not daring to let out even the slightest bit of his aura. Suddenly, he felt a gust of air rush into his face. Before he could open his eyes, he felt his mouth being covered, and a dagger pierced his throat. Black fog filled the air, devouring his life force. The middle-level expert struggled bitterly, but he could not break free from Yan Yunbei's arms. Crack! Yan Yunbei exerted force in his arms and directly broke the neck. The middle-level expert's soul was killed, and his body quickly decayed. A middle-level powerhouse died without making the slightest sound. Yan Yunbei covered the dead man with brambles and pounced on the next target. The assassinated target did not even emit the smell of blood. The corpse had already been eaten by poison, leaving only a skeleton. Whoosh! Yan Yunbei didn't know how long he had been killing. The higher he pounced, the lower-level experts were all annihilated, more than 30 middle-level experts died, and 3 upper-level experts were killed. Such a battle record was enough to shock everyone. However, this merit disappeared with the night. After midnight, Yan Yunbei looked at the brambles in the depths. There was still 1 upper-level expert left. This half of the ambushers were completely annihilated. However, the thousand-hand Buddha was not here. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to make a move. He approached the last expert. That expert was like the others. He didn't think that he was an ambusher and would be ambushed instead. Therefore, he didn't have much defense. Whoosh! A dark cold light flashed in the night. That upper-level expert had just opened his eyes. He was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Suddenly, he felt a chill in his throat. His mouth was wide open as he was pierced by an even longer sword. He was directly pinned to the tree trunk behind him. "Go in peace," Yan Yunbei said in a low voice. He pulled out his sword and put it back into the scabbard. There were 8 upper-level experts in total. I killed 4 here. It seems that there are 4 on the other side. Yan Yunbei quickly went down one side of the canyon and entered the other side. 1,000 miles away, Lin Wutian and the others were anxiously waiting. A night passed quickly, but there was still no sign of Yan Yunbei. They couldn't help but become more anxious. "You guys stay here. I'll go take a look." Lin Wutian was worried about Yan Yunbei's safety. "Wait for a while more. This place is too close to the canyon. If there is really an ambush there, once we move, the other party will definitely find us," Yarxing reminded. "Wait," Emperor Yi said with unusual firmness. "I know Brother Yan's strength. If he doesn't want to kill, no one can stop him." At this moment, a figure flashed by. Yan Yunbei was covered in blood and appeared in front of everyone. "I encountered some trouble killing the last upper-level expert. But it's not a big deal," Yan Yunbei said calmly. Yarxing's pupils shrank. He looked at Yan Yunbei and asked in disbelief, "You killed their upper-level experts?" Yan Yunbei's strength was only in the middle level. Even if his concealment and assassination skills were strong, it was impossible for him to kill all of their upper-level experts in one night. Fortunately, in order to not be discovered by us, they shielded their consciousness and didn't dare to reveal any aura. This gave me a chance. Yan Yunbei seemed to have killed a few ants. He brushed off the dust and leaves on his body and said, if the thousand-hand Buddha was still in the same group, he would be alone now. It's impossible for him to stop us alone. Let's take advantage of the daytime and quickly enter the Shuejia Pass. Once we reach the sacred ground of the martial Tao Supremes, we will be safe. Yarxing and Zhuguang's scalp tingled. They felt as if there were countless bugs crawling on their bodies. Looking at Yan Yunbei's calm face, they felt as if they were looking at a devil. Let's go. The 6 of them quickly rushed towards the snowy peak canyon. In the Shuejia Pass, the thousand-hand Buddha and Gong Wuxing were calm and composed. They believed that Lin Wutian and the rest would appear in the daytime, so they didn't guard the canyon at night. On this day, as soon as the sun rose, they stepped out of the Shuejia Pass and guarded the 2 sides of the mountain peak. I found that your group of subordinates' concealment techniques are very strong. I actually didn't find any traces of them. Gong Wushing found a place to rest and said lightly. The thousand-hand Buddha smiled confidently and said proudly, "They are fierce people that I took great pains to subdue. If they didn't have any ability, how could I take them in?" Chapter 1945. The two legendary experts were guarding the left and right sides, waiting quietly. The adventurers did not know that a battle was about to break out and were still walking at a leisurely pace. The 5 experts did not know that there were 2 legendary creatures here. They quickly rushed in, and 6 figures could be seen clearly. The thousand-hand Buddha and Gong Wushing looked at each other and sneered. Their auras were even more restrained. They were so confident that they did not even take out their weapons and focused on waiting for the 5 experts to arrive. There's also a mysterious killer. Even I can't sense his exact location due to his concealment technique, the thousand-hand Buddha reminded them. Gong Wushing sneered. Unorthodox. He can't even withstand a single blow. A true legendary creature did not believe that an assassin could get close to them. They were arrogant and regarded the world as nothing. As long as they were not at the legendary level, they would stand aside. Swoosh. Lin Wutian and Yar Saint were in front of each other. Zhuo Shuguang and Lin Wutian were in front, while Emperor Yi and Wu Xing'er were in the middle. Both of them were holding divine weapons, and their defensive holy armor had been activated. Even a peak legendary expert might not be able to break through their defense in a short period of time. Buzz. The wooden sword in Lin Wutian's sleeve was vibrating rapidly. Swoosh. Lin Wutian immediately stopped and waved his hand to stop everyone. Don't continue forward. The wooden sword's warning is stronger than before. It seems that we might encounter more than one legendary creature this time. Lin Wutian reminded them in a deep voice. Yar Saint's pupils constricted. Once 2 legendary creatures joined forces, they would not be able to fight against them unless Lin Wutian exposed his identity and used the Green Lotus Sword Song. However, once the Green Lotus Sword Song appeared, the identity of the Green Lotus Sword deity would be revealed. The Kuang sect would be in even more danger and passive. Even if he did not expose the Green Lotus Sword Song and the Green Lotus Fairy Steps, Lin Wutian would still be a king of the same level. The 2 sides were about a few thousand meters apart. One side was at the entrance of the canyon, and the other was at the exit. The thousand-hand Buddha saw them stop at the entrance and could not help but grin. He looked at Gong Wushing and walked out. The 2,000-meter-long passage was narrow and long. It towered into the sky, and the rocks were steep. "Since you're here, don't leave," the thousand-hand Buddha said calmly. Gong Wushing had a smile on his face as he looked at Yar Saint, Emperor Yi, and the other 2 holy maidens behind him. His eyes flashed with a different kind of light. His footwork was light and graceful, and every step he took shook the surroundings. "So it's the 3 fairies. Forgive my rudeness. If you don't mind, please step aside. After I'm done with these 2 brats, I'll treat you to a cup of tea and a chat," Gong Wushing said confidently. "Wutian, leave quickly." To attack, to be. The 5 of them had their backs to each other. They looked at the 2 legendary creatures warily. There was a hint of panic in their eyes. Gong Wutian enjoyed the panic of the 5 of them. His evil eyes flashed with a terrifying light. The evil smile on his lips made people feel disgusted. "Yer Xing, Miss Qin and Miss Xing of the Wu family, our target isn't you. Of course, I'm willing to be your friend, so you have to give me some face. Now get out of my way. I only want to capture Lin Wutian and Zhuo Shuguang. As for that assassin, I don't care if he's here or not." Gong Wutian looked at Yar Xing, Emperor Yi and Wu Xing'er. As a legendary disciple, he naturally understood that Yar Xing was the Emperor's saintess and could not be killed. Emperor Yi and Wu Xing'er were the daughters of the Eternal One and could not be touched. He stepped lightly, his divine robe fluttering. He pretended to be carefree and said, "The three of you should understand that compared to a legendary expert, your speed is like the difference between a mortal and a cultivator. You won't be able to stop me and the thousand-hand Buddha. So, please step aside. Gong Wutian, Lin Wutian is my husband. What are you trying to do? You're unreasonably blocking the husband of the Oshi sacred ground. Are you trying to start a war between the two sacred grounds?" Yarxing threatened. "Husband?" Gong Wutian frowned at Yarxing and said coldly, "Yarxing, I'm giving you some face because you're the Emperor's saintess. I don't want to fall out with you. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? If you and Lin Wutian are partners, do you have proof? You haven't even lost your virginity and you're already talking nonsense in front of me. If you don't step aside today, even if I can't kill you, I can kill him. I'll give you 10 breaths of time to consider. Your obstruction will only take their lives. I just want the celestial medicine. Don't go for wool and come home shorn." At this moment, the thousand-hand Buddha was already a few dozen meters away from them. His face was filled with Buddhist intent and an aura of righteousness. He looked at Emperor Yi and Wu Xing'er and sighed softly. "Little princesses of the Wu clan, this Buddha attended your 100th day celebration. As an elder, I naturally cannot attack you. Leave this place first, and I will definitely pay you a visit another day to apologize. How shameless can you two be?" You've already admitted that you're our elders, yet you're still shamelessly surrounding us. The celestial medicine you're talking about is still in Kuang Manor. If you have the guts, go there and snatch it. Let's see if you can come out alive." Wu Xing'er shouted angrily. The thousand-hand Buddha and Gong Wuxing's expressions turned cold. Looking at this scene, they knew that Yaohesheng, Emperor Yi, and the others wouldn't move aside. Thus, they didn't say anything else. Their eyes narrowed, and the thousand-hand Buddha coldly shouted, "Come out! Since they refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, we'll teach them a lesson." Unfortunately, the two ghostly figures on both sides of the canyon didn't appear. Gong Wutian frowned and looked at both sides of the canyon. He asked, "Where are the people you prepared?" Lin Wutian said indifferently, "Don't wait. They're all dead." The thousand-hand Buddha was enraged. A staff appeared in his hand and he shouted, "Enough nonsense. Except for the 2 sisters of the Wu clan, capture them alive. Once we find the celestial medicine, kill them all." Boom! In an instant, Buddhist light soared into the sky and Buddhist chants enveloped the area. The thousand-hand Buddha smashed out 1,000 figures, as if he really had 1,000 hands. Boom! Before Lin Wutian, Yarxing, and the others could make a move, a figure broke through the void and smashed the thousand-hand Buddha's illusion with a palm. The palm landed on the thousand-hand Buddha's staff. Instantly, a shockwave surged into the galaxy. The shockwave caused the sand and stones on both sides of the canyon to dance. The shockwave caused Lin Wutian, Zhou Shuguang, and the others to retreat more than 10 steps. It was obvious how powerful the two's attacks were. Thud, thud, thud. The thousand-hand Buddha and the figure retreated more than 10 steps at the same time. They weren't at a disadvantage at all. This time, even Gong Wutian was shocked. He didn't know where this expert came from. When he took a closer look, he saw that it was a man in ragged clothes. His face was smeared with grass juice, and he looked very unfamiliar. Chapter 1946. At this moment, Lin Wutian and the others were even more shocked, let alone the 2 legendary creatures. It's you. You're actually at the legendary stage." Wu Xing'er was dumbfounded. She did not expect the person she had casually saved to be at the legendary stage. The newcomer was Emperor Feng, an existence who could compete with Xia Zhilong in the same level back then. Although he was far behind now, his realm was still there. Now that he had stepped into the upper level, if not for the fact that he did not have time to adjust, he would not have been pushed back by the thousand-hand Buddha. Emperor Feng remained silent and only nodded. He waved his hand and signaled for the others to hide behind him. His eyes were like ferocious wolf eyes as he stared at the two legendary creatures. Zhuo Guang looked at Yarxing, hoping that she could recognize this person's true identity. However, Emperor Feng had disappeared for more than 30,000 years, and many people had long forgotten about him. Yarxing was still too young, so it was even harder for her to recognize him. Gong Wuxing and the thousand-hand Buddha's expressions changed as they asked coldly, "Who are you? I advise you not to interfere in the personal grudge between our two holy lands and the eccentric sect." Emperor Feng had originally wanted to repay Wu Xing'er's favor, but he did not expect this group of people to be from the eccentric sect. He was originally unwilling to speak, but he still turned his head slightly and asked, "Are you from the eccentric sect? What's your relationship with Yi Qinghan?" Lin Wutian was stunned. He did not expect this person to know Yi Qinghan. He quickly replied, "Senior, the person you're talking about is my master. May I know what's your relationship with him?" Emperor Feng took a deep breath and relaxed. He said in a deep voice, "Since he's your master, don't ask for my name. Ask your master in the future. You just need to know that he's my benefactor." When the thousand-hand Buddha and Gong Wuxing heard this, they immediately felt that there was no hope. Emperor Feng had just made a move, and now, with his relationship with Yi Qinghan, he definitely would not leave. If it were anyone else, it would be fine. At most, they would just kill them all. However, this person could fight against the thousand-hand Buddha. Wouldn't it be easy for Yarxing and the others to kill Gong Wuxing? "Since you dare to participate in this matter, are you a coward? You don't even dare to report your name. What a joke!" Gong Wuxing asked angrily. Emperor Feng stared at the two of them and replied indifferently, "You two are of high status, and I do not wish to offend you. However, this group of people is connected to me by fate. If you leave now, I will not make things difficult for you. However, if you insist on making a move, then I will start a massacre today." Whoosh! Suddenly, a strong wind blew, and the withered leaves danced in the wind. The sand and dust squinted their eyes, making it impossible for them to look straight at it. They all used their hands to cover their eyes. Ha ha ha! A wild laughter filled the 9 heavens, and the flying dragon swept across 8,000 miles. It's really a case of searching high and low only to find it by chance. Feng Huang, this emperor has been looking for you for so long, I didn't expect you to be waiting for me here. His voice was like the rolling of a large bell, lasting for a long time. Emperor Feng's expression suddenly changed. He narrowed his eyes and looked towards the south. Who else could it be other than Xia Zhilong and Xian Xiu? Emperor? He was an emperor. It has already disappeared for 30,000 years. Who would have thought that it would appear again? Yar Saint and the other veteran experts turned pale with fright. They didn't expect the appearance of an emperor to drag Xia Zhilong into this. Boom! Xia Zhilong's palm covered the sky, turning into 9 dragons that wrapped around the area. It was as if he wanted to suppress the 3 legendary experts in his palm. The thousand-hand Buddha and Gong Wuxing were shocked. They didn't know what Xia Zhilong wanted to do, but they tensed up and wanted to resist. Emperor Feng clenched his iron fists, his eyes filled with despair. He was indeed powerful, but after being imprisoned for 30,000 years, both his realm and strength had been suppressed to the bottom. He was no match for Xia Zhilong now. Whoosh! At that moment, a flaming meteor rushed out from the depths of the void and smashed towards Xia Zhilong's hand. Boom! In an instant, the void shattered, and the huge hand collided in the sky above the canyon. The flames shook the cliff, and the snow on the cliff fell as if the sky was falling and the earth was cracking. Xia Zhilong's figure retreated instead of advancing. His eyes were like lightning, covering the peak of the sky. In an instant, everything fell silent. All the creatures outside Xuejia Pass fled, not daring to touch the aftermath of the legendary stage. Boom! A figure rushed out from the southwest. His battle-intent sword, and he looked down on all directions. The strong figure's black clothes fluttered as he confronted Xia Zhilong. Whoosh! A moment later, Zhang Jiuxiao rushed over from afar, panting. He landed not far behind the black-clothed man. The black-clothed man was the true disciple of the Zhan family, the Son of War. The Son of War frowned as he scanned the crowd and said, "Nine Dragons Crown Prince, Thousand-Hand Buddha, Brother Gong, the three of you should understand that if the other disciples of the sacred grounds, even if they are saints, fight in my territory, I won't interfere. But as true disciples, you should restrain yourselves. Don't take the initiative. So it's Brother Zhan. I'm here to capture a wanted criminal of the Holy Empire." "You shouldn't stop me," Xia Zhilong said calmly with his hands behind his back. The Son of War scanned the ground and looked at Emperor Feng. He said calmly, "You can take Emperor Feng away, but the three of you can't touch the people of the insane sect. Brother Zhan, you're looking down on the blessed Buddha temple and the bounty hunter headquarters. The insane sect is a wanted criminal of the two sacred grounds, and Emperor Feng is a wanted criminal of the Holy Empire. Why can the Nine Dragons Crown Prince take Emperor Feng away, but we can't?" The Thousand-Hand Buddha said coldly. "That's right. The insane sect has repeatedly provoked the bounty hunter headquarters and the blessed Buddha temple. This is something everyone knows. The Son of War won't be unfair, right?" Gong Wuxing asked. At this time, Yar Sheng, Lin Wutian, and Zhou Shuguang didn't have the right to speak. It was all up to the Son of War. Xia Zhilong stood aside and watched the show. Since he was here, whether or not the Thousand-Hand Buddha and Gong Wuxing could capture Lin Wutian, he could control the situation. Today, he had to take Lin Wutian and Emperor Feng away. As for the others, he wasn't interested. The Son of War wasn't sure if Lin Wutian had the immortal herb, so he frowned. Lin Wutian was expressionless, but he thought to himself, "Even if I die today, I can't lose the immortal herb. At most, the immortal herb will be destroyed." Yar Sheng thought for a moment, then looked at Xia Zhilong and the Son of War. He reminded them, "Nine Dragons Crown Prince, Son of War, do you want the insane sect to be destroyed and everyone to lose a immortal herb?" Xia Zhilong replied indifferently, "Even if the sky collapses, the Holy Empire's immortal herb won't run away. Yi Qinghan wouldn't dare to cheat me of the immortal herb." Yar Sheng was speechless. The Holy Empire covered the sky with one hand, so there was nothing they could do. "Lin Wutian, tell me honestly, do you have the immortal herb with you?" The Son of War couldn't help but ask. "So what if I do?" "So what if I don't?" Lin Wutian asked. "If you do, I'll send you to the martial Tao Supremacy Holy Land. If you don't, I don't care," the Son of War said coldly. Lin Wutian shrugged and said truthfully, "The immortal herb is in my hands." At this time, Xia Zhilong, Gong Wuxing, and the Thousand-Hand Buddha's eyes shone with golden light. Immortal herb. It represented 9 eternal sovereigns and was priceless. However, the Son of War said forcefully, "I have a share of the immortal herb. Naturally, I can't lose it. It's best if you retreat, but if you don't, then let's fight." "Fight, let's fight. I haven't fought with you legendary experts in a long time," Xia Zhilong replied forcefully. Chapter 1947. The Son of War was strong, but Xia Zhilong was even stronger. However, the Kuang sect still lacked a powerful upper plane cultivator. No one could stop Xianxiu. Even if an emperor could withstand him, no one could fight against Gong Wuxing, who was at the legendary level. His speed could completely bypass Emperor Yi and the others and directly take Lin Wutian and Zhou Shuguang's lives. Lin Wutian unsheathed his sword and said angrily, "The arrow is already on the bow. Let's fight them." As soon as he finished speaking, the legendary level cultivators released their auras and rushed to the galaxy. Without the strength of a legendary level cultivator, even breathing was difficult, let alone fighting. Wutian, protect the celestial medicine and leave first. Emperor Yi waved his hand, and the divine Guqin appeared in his hand. With a gentle move, the sound of nature spread out in all directions, causing birds to worship the phoenix and beasts to roar. The sky changed color and rumbled continuously. You want to leave? Go through me first. Gong Wuxing unsheathed his divine sword and pierced the void, stabbing at Lin Wutian. Boom! The thousand hands Buddha's light shone brightly and turned into thousands of attacks, covering all directions. The Buddha robe on his body had been sacrificed by the blood of countless eminent monks and immortal Buddhas. It had received the faith of countless immortal Buddhas. Even if it was not an eternal sacred artifact, it was close enough. Under his effect, it was enough to fight against Yar Saint. After all, her cultivation was too weak to activate the eternal sacred artifact at all. Yar Saint began to chant, and the staff of power in his hand emitted a monstrous light that shot into the sky. The power of the golden eyes erupted, and the true peak combat power was displayed. He charged toward the thousand hands Buddha. As long as he could break through the canyon, the Son of War could delay Xia Zhilong for a while, and Lin Wutian could escape with the celestial medicine. Boom! Boom! Whoosh! All the experts charged at each other in the blink of an eye. Xia Zhilong, on the other hand, was full of smiles, as if he was disdainful. I'll defeat you in 30 moves. Xia Zhilong's aura surged, and he raised 3 fingers as he spoke to the Son of War. The Son of War was furious, and his battle intent materialized. Fight! 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 The ancestral blood of the War clan was awakened, boiling like 10,000 horses galloping. The bloodline of the progeny of combat was close to that of the first-generation battle progenitor. Once he unleashed his battle aura, it was enough to suppress those of the same level. Even the auras of the great masters in the distance were affected. Unfortunately, his opponent was Xia Zhilong. Xia Zhilong's aura soared into the clouds. His godly power flowed in all directions. The starlight in his body flashed as if there were stars in his body. The clear sky was now filled with stars. The sun and the moon appeared at the same time, and the stars filled the sky. Stellar arts, first style, stellar transposition. Boom! Xia Zhilong, who had been right in front of the Son of Battle, suddenly disappeared. In the blink of an eye, he struck out with both palms and appeared behind the Son of Battle. His palms pierced through the confinement of the dome of heaven and went straight for his back. The Son of War leaped into the air. His long legs swept horizontally like divine swords and sabers, destroying everything in their path. They landed right on Xia Zhilong's palm. Boom! In a split second, the impact of the two of them caused the snow above the canyon to collapse, directly drowning the canyon. Whoosh! Zhuguang and other weaker existences were directly smashed into the snow. Ares' leg technique. It was sharper than staff techniques and more ruthless than sabers and swords. The Son of Battle kicked out more than 300 times in an instant. He used all 36 Ares' leg techniques, but Xia Zhilong blocked them. It's my turn. Xia Zhilong roared angrily. The stars in the sky became denser, illuminating thousands of miles in all directions. Stars split. Xia Zhilong's palm turned into a blade. It cut open the void and directly attacked the Son of Battle. Whoosh! Boom! The two of them were barehanded, but they were more ferocious than others who were using weapons. The Son of Battle's blood boiled. His bloodline activated and he punched at Xia Zhilong's blade. The two of them were like shooting stars. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged more than 10 moves. They collided and separated. They clashed again. The Son of Battle was forced back each time. The bones in his hand were almost broken, but Xia Zhilong was still strong. After several exchanges, the son of battle was forced back hundreds of meters. Heaven, earth, stars, become my body. Split heaven and earth, destroy 10 directions. After the 20th move, Xia Jiulong had almost turned into a star. From afar, it looked like a golden body formed by 10 billion stars. He controlled the power of heaven and earth. He covered the sky with his palm and pressed down on the son of battle. Overturn the heavens with my battle blood. Float the earth with my battle body. Break the gods with my life. Open. The son of battle transformed into a sharp sword. He stomped on the ground and rushed into the clouds. He put his palms together and faced up, wanting to break through Xia Jiulong's strongest attack. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. They didn't expect a legendary expert to be so strong. The younger legendary experts, Thousand Hand Buddha and Gong Wuxing, thought that they were considered top-notch existences among their peers. Even if they weren't as strong as Xia Jiulong, the gap wouldn't be too big. However, after today's battle, they realized that they were far inferior to him. They weren't even comparable to the son of battle. Yarsheng and the others stopped. The real battle was between Xia Jiulong and the son of battle. Their victory would determine everything. Lie down. Boom. Xia Jiulong carried the power of the stars and slammed his palm on the son of battle's fingertip. The sky-covering palm print was comparable to an eternal sacred artifact. It forcefully smashed the son of battle down from the sky. Crack! Ah! The son of battle roared. The bones in his hand were broken. His body was like a kite with a broken string. In the end, he couldn't break through Xia Jiulong's suppression and fell to the ground. Defeated. Just as Xia Jiulong said, he was defeated in less than 30 moves. Xia Jiulong arrived forcefully, but he didn't take advantage of the situation to completely suppress the son of battle. After all, this was the territory of the battle tribe. He had to give some face. He looked around and finally fixed his eyes on Lin Wutian and Feng Huang. You two still want to resist? Give me the celestial medicine and we'll redistribute the benefit. If you make me happy, I'll spare your lives. Lin Wutian's expression changed. He wanted to pull out the wooden sword from his left sleeve, but Yarsheng stopped him. She shook her head and whispered, "Don't be rash. Otherwise, things will only get worse." Xia Jiulong smiled. He didn't care about what others thought. Even the son of battle had been defeated, let alone others. I'll give you 3 breaths of time to consider. If you don't satisfy me, you and that hidden killer will be buried here, Xia Jiulong said indifferently. Yo, brother Jiulong, you're so domineering. I like it. Clap, clap, clap. A sound that made one's body weak resounded around the canyon. Everyone looked up and saw a girl in revealing clothes. Her legs were as white as snow. She was clapping her hands gently. Her face was full of worship, as if she was Xia Jiulong's admirer. Xia Jiulong's expression changed. He looked at the girl and his body trembled. He thought to himself, I didn't realize she was here when I was fighting the son of battle. Looks like she's improved a lot over the years. Brother Jiulong, what's with your expression? Don't you welcome me? The girl asked in a crisp voice. Xia Jiulong took a deep breath. His mouth twitched and his iron fists slowly clenched. He didn't know what to say. At this moment, a figure rushed over and stomped on the top of the mountain. Even the top of the mountain was shaken and shattered. F***CK, senior sister, can you wait for me? I'm so tired. At this moment, a familiar voice echoed in the mountain. Lin Wutian and the others were overjoyed. Yi Qinghan had arrived. His clothes were ragged. It was unknown how long he had run across several holy lands to catch up. He was only half an hour behind Fan Yin. Huff. Xia Jiulong exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and squeezed out a smile. Junior sister Fan Yin, what brings you here? Chapter 1948. Xia Jiulong finally squeezed out a smile and said something. Only he knew how powerless he was. Fanine was full of smiles. She looked like she was worshipping him, but Xia Jilong did not feel that way. Brother Jilong, of course it was the Northwest that blew me here. The Northwest told me that my most admired Brother Jilong was here, so I chased after him. But looking at Brother Jilong's expression, you don't seem to welcome me. Fanine pretended to be gentle. Xia Jilong's chest heaved up and down as he tried to calm himself down. He kept a smile on his face and said, "Junior sister, what are you saying? This is not the Holy Empire. Even if you don't welcome me, it would not be me." When the other true disciples saw Fanine, some were happy and some were sad. The happy one was the son of battle, but the sad ones were the thousand-hand Buddha and Gong Wusheng. It seemed that this little girl was indeed a peerless beauty. Fanine did not realize it. It was as if there was no one else in her eyes. She kept staring at Xia Jilong. Her jade-like fingers circled around the strongest crown prince of the younger generation. She said teasingly, "I knew Brother Jilong would not welcome me. Otherwise, I would not have come so far to find you. Look at my two slender white legs. They are swollen. Can you help me rub them?" "Who?" Xia Jilong took a deep breath, and a black line appeared on his forehead. He did not even look at Fan Yin's beautiful long legs, and tried to restrain his anger. After a long time, he said faintly, "Junior sister, let's talk slowly after I deal with the things here." Fanine pretended to be wronged and widened her watery eyes like a little girl who had been wronged. She looked at Xia Jilong and said, "Brother Jilong, is there something more important than me in your heart? You heartless man. If I knew, I would not have come to find you. I would have gone to the imperial city to find your father." "Gotcha." Xia Jilong clenched his fists. His eyes were burning. He avoided Fanine. If it was someone else, he would not have to endure it. But Fanine had no integrity, so he could not do anything. "Fanine, junior sister, what do you want?" Xia Jilong roared in a low voice. Fanine's eyes became misty. She looked up at Xia Jilong and roared, "Xia Jilong, you dare to roar at me?" Xia Jilong immediately deflated and replied weakly, "Junior sister, when did I yell at you? And you say you didn't roar. You actually yelled at such a delicate and beautiful girl, and you even asked me what I wanted to do? You're such a heartless man. I've traversed several holy lands to chase after your footstep. You've hurt me too much. Boo-hoo." Fanine covered her eyes as if she was very sad. Yi Qinghan, who had hurried over, saw Fanine's reaction and broke out in cold sweat. He thought to himself, no wonder Xia Jilong ran away as soon as he saw this woman. If it weren't for the fact that the elixir was still in Lin Wutian's hands, he would have fled long ago. Many people didn't know about the existence of Fan Yin. At least, Lin Wutian and Zhou Shuguang didn't know about it. They were very surprised at the moment. They didn't expect that Xia Jilong, who was at the peak of his power, would be helpless one day. Xia Jilong was so angry that he was trembling all over. He rubbed his forehead with his big hand to calm the anger in his heart. But before he could completely calm down, Fanine's words made him go completely berserk. "You heartless man! When I go back, I'll propose to your father. If I can't be your wife, I'll be your stepmother." Fanine's serious expression made the son of war and the others hold back their laughter. But their deformed facial muscles betrayed their current expressions. "Fanine, you've gone too far with this joke." Xia Jilong's eyes flashed with killing intent as he spoke. Fanine pretended to be terrified. She took a few steps back and ran to Yi Qinghan. Like a bullied little girl, she leaned against Yi Qinghan's chest and gently hit Yi Qinghan's shoulder with her small hands. She said coquettishly, "Junior brother, someone wants to bully me. You have to stand up for me." Yi Qinghan opened his hands. He wanted to push Fanine away but didn't dare. He wanted to hug and comfort her, but he didn't dare. He could only smile and say, "Senior sister Fanine is so beautiful. There's actually a man who doesn't know what's good for him. Why don't we join forces to teach him a lesson? Junior brother is still the best to me. My love and care for you were not in vain. Fanine smiled charmingly. Suddenly, her attitude changed. She pointed at Xia Jilong and said, "Since you don't like to joke, I'll make my intentions clear. I'm really too bored. Today, I'm here to teach you a lesson." "With just you? Can you do it?" Xia Jilong sneered. "What if you include me?" Yi Qinghan said calmly. Xia Jilong looked at Yi Qinghan and said disdainfully, "Ant-like existence. If I want to kill you, it's just a matter of waving my hand. Do you think there's a need to do it in front of me? How do you know if you don't try? As the saying goes, a scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. Besides, we haven't seen each other for more than 3 days." Yi Qinghan put his hand on Fanine's shoulder and smiled. "Senior sister Fanine, someone is looking down on your junior brother. Some people just look down on others. If we join forces, we can definitely beat the dog." Fanine mocked Yi Qinghan. "Ho ho ho." Xia Jilong no longer wanted to hide the murderous intent in his eyes. He fiercely exhaled a few mouthfuls of anger. His lips curled into a sinister smile, and he said eerily, "Let's not talk about you and Fanine joining forces. Even if both of you came together, so what? How can this emperor's strength be shaken by a group of ants? Today, I'm going to kill a few people to establish this emperor's prestige. I'll let all the true disciples see that not just any cat or dog can provoke me. I'm so scared." Fanine pretended to be scared. Her small hands patted her huge chest, and she almost fell into Yi Qinghan's arms. Looking at Xia Jilong's flustered and exasperated expression, Yi Qinghan's playful heart was aroused. He conveniently hugged Fanine's small waist from behind and said, "Your Highness is so scary. Look at how scared our beautiful senior sister is. You're really not a man." Fanine's body stiffened, but she quickly recovered. Her face was full of smiles, which made the world lose its color. Her body slightly leaned forward, almost leaning into Yi Qinghan's arms. She looked delicate and charming, like a happy little woman. If all the men in the world were as tender and protective as junior brother, how good would that be? However, some men are not even as good as women. Fanine teased. "Enough of you. Fanine, you really have no moral integrity. You've lost the face of the sky-reaching school. Today, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of the sky-reaching senior." Xia Jilong's aura surged. His anger turned into 9 dragons, and his aura soared into the galaxy. Boom! Yi Qinghan and Fanine joined forces, and their aura became even stronger. They suppressed the heavens and confronted Xia Jilong with tit for tat. Each of them controlled half of the sky. Xia Jilong was a little surprised. He stared at Yi Qinghan and thought, "It's true that a scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. How did Yi Qinghan's battle strength increase so much?" Chapter 1949. Yi Qinghan's progress was absolutely tremendous. When they entered the Shrouding Sky secret realm, Xia Jilong was absolutely confident that he could kill Yi Qinghan with one blow. But now, with the aura that Yi Qinghan was exuding, he might not even be able to kill him in 10 blows, let alone one. "Junior brother, I'll let you play with him alone. I'll help you from the side." Fanine glanced at Xia Jilong, as though she wanted to provoke him on purpose. She then looked at the other direct disciples and said with a smile, "The other little brothers, don't move. Otherwise, big sister here will spank your buttocks and strip off your clothes so that you can enjoy the feeling of running around naked." Gong Wuxing and the 1,000-hand Buddha's faces turned green, but there was nothing they could do. They had more people than them. There's no need for them to do anything. In 3 moves, I'll take Yi Qinghan's dog life. Xia Jilong grabbed the air and the stars shone again. The power of the stars bathed in the golden body, increasing his strength by a few hundred times. Stars split. Xia Zhilong's palms turned into blades with starlight that was even more dazzling. Hua! Yi Qinghan stepped forward and drew a circle with his hands, forming the Tai Chi Yin and Yang. He was still very proficient in the 10-word incantation. The 10-word incantation will teach you how to be a human, Yi Qinghan angrily retorted. Xia Zhilong tapped his toes and moved like lightning. His blade cut through the void and split the stars. Boom! Hua! A figure turned into a meteor and charged towards Yi Qinghan. It was extremely fast. Stick-word incantation. Yi Qinghan's strength was at its peak. His body was one with the earth's yin and yang, and he could use the power of the heavens. He placed his hand on Xia Zhilong's blade. Stick-word incantation. Return-word incantation. Tremor-word incantation. Yi Qinghan's big hand grabbed Xia Zhilong's wrist and pulled him back. His body moved back to the side, and his wrist removed most of the impact. Then, he suddenly shook his body forward. The 4 moves of the 10-word incantation were like moving clouds and flowing water, without the slightest bit of sloppiness. He returned Xia Zhilong's strength back to him, and his own strength poured out. Boom! Xia Zhilong used his blade as a palm and struck Yi Qinghan's palm. This force was even greater than the Son of Combat's attack against Xia Zhilong. Crack crack! Boom! Thud thud thud! Yi Qinghan was pushed back more than 10 steps by this attack. The rocks beneath his feet crumbled, and he left behind a footprint with each step he took. Tai Chi turns into yin and yang scatter in all directions, 8 trigrams covers the 10 heavens, 9 nines return to 1, force sinks beneath the feet. Boom! While Yi Qinghan was retreating, he kept sliding his feet. He held the 10 directions in his hand and dissipated the force. He shook the ground from the soles of his feet into the depths of the earth. Qi waves rushed out in all directions. Boom! Xia Zhilong was also pushed back a step. His eyes were filled with anger, the anger of being pushed back by an ant. He did not expect that his powerful attack would not only fail to injure Yi Qinghan, but also push him back a step. Clearly, this was unforgivable. Whoosh! Xia Zhilong exhaled and said coldly, Fanning, how dare you teach the 10 directions incantation and shadowless cloud manipulation to an outsider? I'm happy. You're not going to marry me. Why can't I find a pretty boy? Fanning replied provocatively. Crack! Xia Zhilong clenched his iron fist, and the bones in his hand cracked. In that case, I'll clean up the sky-reaching school for you. Die Yi Qinghan. Xia Zhilong stomped his foot. The earth trembled and the sky cracked. He raised his hand and grabbed at the void, twisting time and space. Star profound, radiant 10 directions, suppress. Whoosh! Xia Zhilong soared into the sky and gathered the power of the 10 directions incantation in his palm. He suddenly swooped down. The sky-covering palm print suppressed the earth and cracked the mountain. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Except for the true disciples, everyone else fled to the periphery. They did not dare to resist the aftershock. TSK, TSK, TSK. What a powerful aura. You need to use the Star Profound to kill a junior. He's just a junior brother I taught casually. He only learned the 10 directions incantation and shadowless cloud manipulation. Fanning sneered disdainfully. Xia Zhilong did not want to answer. He just wanted to get rid of Yi Qinghan as soon as possible. Yi Qinghan stared at the sky. He crossed his legs and turned his palm over to mobilize the power of the earth. The wishful bell attached to his body. His veins bulged and wisps of light flowed. His body was condensed by the divine gold liquid to the extreme. Hey boy, what are you doing? Fighting head-on? Fanning saw that Yi Qinghan did not intend to use the 10 directions incantation, so he immediately asked. I'm using him to refine my body. Yi Qinghan replied indifferently. His aura soared to the 9 heavens as he stomped his foot on the ground. His body was like a bolt of lightning as he charged towards the palm, intending to fight against the heavens. Roar! Yi Qinghan turned into a fire dragon and rushed to the sky. The dragon roar shook the world, and the snow above the canyon collapsed again. Roar! The 2 dragons collided. In an instant, flames soared to the sky and the earth shook. Open! A deafening roar suppressed the 9 heavens, as if it wanted to split the world apart. At this time, even the son of Zhan and the others felt their hair stand on end. They did not expect Yi Qinghan, a peak lower-level expert, to be able to resist Xia Zhilong's profound attack. Boom! Whoosh! With a loud noise, a figure fell from the sky and smashed into the ground. The rock layer was smashed through. Yi Qinghan was blasted into the ground. If it were an ordinary person, their body would have been smashed to smithereens. Unfortunately, Yi Qinghan was not an ordinary person. He was an existence with a freakish physical body. Roar! A beast-like roar rushed out from the deep pit. Yi Qinghan then rushed out of the pit. His bronze skin shone brightly. His divine clothes had been shattered, and only the wishful bell had merged with his body. At this moment, he was unscathed. Die! Xia Zhilong did not finish his move. He rushed to the ground with lightning speed and slammed his palm down. With the power of the heavens, it pressed down on Yi Qinghan's head. Yi Qinghan's figure flashed. With the support of the cloud treading boots, his legendary level footwork was as fast as lightning. He circled behind Xia Zhilong and smashed his iron weapon at his back. Xia Zhilong's reaction was fast. His body twisted in the air without any support. His palm wrapped around his iron fist. Boom! It was another solid collision. Boom! Flames soared into the sky, and all the snow in the surroundings was evaporated. Bang! Yi Qinghan's body was almost deformed. He flew backward and smashed into the side of the cliff. Boom! The mountain rocks were smashed into powder. A human-shaped pit appeared in the mountain. Xia Zhilong was incomparably strong. He stood proudly on the spot and said disdainfully, "You're just an ant. Let's see if you can survive." Almost no one doubted that Yi Qinghan would have been killed by the palm strike, but Fanine didn't believe it. She was the only one who knew how strong Yi Qinghan's physical body was. Even after being tortured by her so many times, he was still alive and kicking, like a cockroach that couldn't be killed. "Tell me when you can hold on. I'll avenge you." Fan Yin leaned on a huge rock and said casually. Boom! A rock rushed out of the deep pit. Yi Qinghan then rushed out. He shook his body and his bones cracked. His face was full of excitement. "Awesome! I feel like my body is about to break through to the middle level." Yi Qinghan said hoarsely. "Damn, what is this guy's body made of?" Many people asked. Xia Zhilong was speechless for a long time. After a long time, he said, "What an abnormal body! Looks like I can't kill you without using the profound essence." Chapter 1950. Although Yi Qinghan had been beaten up, and from the looks of it, he was even more excited at this moment. His strength had long broken through the middle level, but his realm had always been stuck at the peak of the lower level, unable to break through. Now that Xia Zhilong had beaten him to the point of almost breaking through the bottleneck, how could he not be excited? Yi Qinghan's physical body was at the level of a saint, and it was unknown how many of his meridians had been broken. Now, however, they were automatically recovering. The divine gold liquid flowed into his palm, randomly flowing in all directions. There was only a single strand, but it was filled with spiritual energy that soared into the sky. Xia Zhilong frowned and looked at Yi Qinghan's palm for a long time before he was sure. He stared at Yi Qinghan in disbelief and asked in a deep voice, "This is the divine gold liquid? Where did you get it?" Yi Qinghan smiled but did not speak. How could he tell him that the divine gold liquid came from the seal the heaven's prison? Otherwise, Xia Zhilong would die of anger. However, there was still a piece of divine gold in the seal the heaven's prison, which was a material for an eternal sacred artifact. He would not give it to Xia Zhilong. Hua! Xia Zhilong waved his hand and a jade fan appeared in his hand. He shook it gently and the jade fan opened. 9 dragons surrounded the jade fan, vivid and lifelike, as if they were about to break out of the prison and turn into true dragons. Be careful, this is the 9-dragon fan, a pseudo-eternal sacred artifact. It can instantly destroy your body. Fan Yin immediately became vigilant. He slowly straightened his body and walked to Yi Qinghan's side. A red rope appeared at his fingertips, but it was obviously not made of a real red rope. It was an ancient variant called the pulling silk thread. It could pull the heavens and earth, pull the souls of people, and lock the souls of people. Xia Zhilong stared at Fan Yin and asked coldly, "Junior sister Fan Yin, do you have to get involved? Why do you always have to go against me?" Fan Yin smiled and said, "It's boring to go against others. Look, in this world, how many people can fight against you?" Xia Zhilong said angrily, "Should I feel honored?" Fan Yin shrugged and replied indifferently, "That's not necessary. You are only 10,000 years older than us. If your cultivation stagnated for 10,000 years, I believe that the true disciples of the various holy lands could surpass you." Hu. Xia Zhilong found it difficult to dispel his anger and killing intent. Especially after seeing that Yi Qinghan was attempting to break through to the middle-level realm, his killing intent became even more difficult to conceal. This was because Yi Qinghan posed a threat to him. If such a person wasn't eliminated as soon as possible, he would become a great threat in the future. Whoosh! Boom! Yi Qinghan's blood began to boil. His golden body seemed to be burning. Flames surrounded him. The true dragon fire essence and the blue demon flames intertwined, creating a different kind of beauty. The Feng Huang King's eyes flashed with a strange glint. He didn't know whether it was joy or sorrow. Seeing that Yi Qinghan was about to break through, he couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. He knew that Xia Zhilong would return empty-handed today. Lin Wutian was even more excited. There was no need to mention Emperor Yi. He took the initiative to play the zither, and the melodious sound of the zither was extremely agitated. It mobilized Yi Qinghan's qi and blood, and it was like the waves of the sea. Each wave was higher than the previous one, and it crashed against the bottleneck. Boom! Xia Zhilong could no longer hold back. He flipped the jade fan and turned it into a blade beam, slashing towards Yi Qinghan's throat. Whoosh! As soon as Xia Zhilong moved, Fan Yin attacked Xia Zhilong's original body. She attacked Xia Zhilong's main body by surrounding Wei to rescue Zhao. Xia Zhilong had no choice but to retreat and avoid Fan Yin's slender red rope. "Xian Xiu, stop Fan Yin!" Xia Zhilong shouted angrily. "Ha ha ha!" Fan Yin wasn't angry. Instead, she laughed crisply. She pointed at Yar Sheng and the others and said, "Look, we have more people than you. If you like to fight 2 against 1, I don't mind letting you have a taste of being surrounded." Boom! The Son of War kicked a mountain and stood in front of Xian Xiu. Although he lost to Xia Zhilong, he wasn't injured. Xia Zhilong's face darkened. He said coldly, "Brother Zhan, are you going against me?" The Son of War shook his head and said indifferently, "The immortal pill is my only chance to catch up to you. This has nothing to do with whether I'm going against you or not. It's my life's work. The descendants of the Zhan family will never lose to anyone. You are no exception." With the Son of War holding Xian Xiu back, Gong Wusheng and the Thousand-Hand Buddha couldn't do anything to Yar Sheng and Emperor Feng. Moreover, even if Lin Wutian didn't use the Green Lotus Sword Song, he could still threaten the Thousand-Hand Buddha's life. The two sides confronted each other. Time flew by, but Yi Qinghan seemed to be in a different space and time. He didn't care about the current situation at all. He cultivated in peace, mobilizing more and more divine liquid to flow through his body. His body became stronger and stronger, closer and closer to perfection. At least in the lower realm, Yi Qinghan's body was definitely unprecedented. Once he broke through to the middle realm, he would be a true legendary expert. Even if he couldn't defeat Xia Zhilong, he could contend against the thousand-hand Buddha at his peak. Boom! A dull sound broke the silence. Yi Qinghan's blood flowed like the roars of 10,000 beasts. The flames grew stronger and stronger, burning everything. Crack! Immediately after, there was a shattering sound. Yi Qinghan could clearly feel the bottleneck in his body shatter. Immediately, he mobilized all the power in his body to break through the shackles. His aura suddenly increased by dozens of times, charging into the middle realm. The breakthrough of the physical body led to the increase of the realm, from the lower realm to the middle realm. His divine power and physical body broke through at the same time, causing his combat power to rise to a new height. It was dozens of times stronger than before. Roar! Yi Qinghan's veins bulged. His roar pierced through the clouds. His aura spread in all directions, causing the canyon to tremble. Even Xuejia Pass could clearly feel the pressure enveloping them. It was extremely terrifying. In an instant, the flames on Yi Qinghan's body were restrained. His aura was withdrawn into his body, and he returned to his previous state, as if he had never broken through. "Thank you, Crown Prince, for your guidance. I'm really grateful," Yi Qinghan said with a smile. This beating was not in vain. Fan Yin's attack was not murderous, but Xia Zhilong's attack was different. He had no choice but to break through. Now that he was on the verge of success, he was no longer afraid of the legendary true disciples. Xia Zhilong's gloomy face suddenly bloomed with a smile. He waved the jade fan in his hand, looking extremely handsome and at ease. "Junior brother Yi, you're too polite. As the saying goes, without destruction, there can be no construction. If I don't give you some pressure, how can you break through? I hope you don't think that I really want to kill you," Xia Zhilong said lightly. "Junior brother, how can you misunderstand Crown Prince's good intentions?" Yi Qinghan responded with a smile. His deep voice was filled with excitement. Xia Zhilong smiled, then looked at Feng Huang and said indifferently, "In that case, I'll take away today's target." "Feng Huang, does anyone have any objections?" Yi Qinghan widened his eyes and asked in surprise, "Crown Prince, you promised me to take Feng Huang away. As the saying goes, a gentleman's word is as fast as a whip. A monarch's words are not taken lightly. Are you going back on your words in front of everyone?" Xia Zhilong's anger rose again. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to be so insatiable. However, his clenched fists slowly loosened. Fan Yin saw Xia Zhilong's attitude and had a bad feeling in his heart. How could the Crown Prince be so defeated? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.